Hell yeah, Mac, let's continue with that left off.
Behind Izuku. You seem to know a lot about her, so tell me about her. Is she small? Very small. Izuku stated, a bit put off by how carefree Nejaira was being right now, more so than she was in the original timeline. The blue-haired girl gasped happily. After a few more corners, they came upon the door to Yuri's room. Izuku stepped up, but then froze as danger sense went off. He held up a hand to stop the group. What is it? Yukio asked. Something behind the door is triggering danger sense. Racer. Aizawa moved into place as Izuku lifted his leg and kicked the door, bending the door open as Aizawa activated his quirk. A man in white robes lunged at them with a knife. Izuku ducked and Mirio lunged forward, striking the man in the jaw and sending him sprawling to the floor. Aizawa's capture scarf shot out, binding the man. Hari Kurono, Izuku explained. Codename Chronostasis. His quirk lets him slow down a person's movements to a near standstill. He's Chisaki's right-hand man. Izuku walked up, kicking the white-haired man to the floor. Where's Uri? Fuck off. Izuku activated full cowling, slamming his fist into the floor near Kurono's head. The man's eyes widened as Izuku left a deep hole in the floor. Where is Uri? Izuku repeated, his tone implying that he wasn't going to ask a third time. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. She's the one who locked you in here, right? Which means Chisaki doesn't have her yet. Izuku punched Kurono in the side of the head, knocking him out cold. We need to split up. Uri could be anywhere, and we have to get to her before Chisaki. 10th, are you sure it was a good idea to allow Nejaira Hado to be a part of this raid? I am aware of her issues. Night, I asked. Ah, yes. Nezu began. Yukio and I had quite a long discussion with Hound Dog regarding that. In the end, I would say she was just barely allowed to come on to the raid. After all, the best way to learn is through experience. We can only hope someone doesn't accidentally trigger her, and if something bad happens, then Yukio and I shall take full responsibility. 10th, hey, Deku-chan, so can you tell me anything about your mentor? I bet he's got a super strong quirk. Maybe it's a hero I know. Hey, do you think I'm annoying? Izuku stumbled at Nejaira's abrupt question. H-Hunt, no, of course not. I'm just focused on finding Eri. Why would you ask that? Nejaira shuffled awkwardly. Sorry, I just felt like I needed to know. I was kinda in a bad way emotionally and mentally before I came to UA. My family was super worried about me, and I almost did something really stupid. Hound Dog Sensei's been helping. I've been trying to get better, but sometimes I just can't be sure. Izuku looked in shock at the blue-haired girl. This was a far cry from the usually bubbly and energetic Nejaira he knew. Hado-senpai. Danger sense flared, and Izuku shoved Nejaira out of the way as the wall next to where she had been standing exploded, and a walking mass of muscle walked out. Kendo Rappa. Izuku groaned. Who the hell are you? Doesn't matter. Fight me? Rappa threw out a barrage of punches that shattered the wall where Izuku and Nejaira had just been standing. Go, I'll catch up, Izuku ordered. But that's an order, senpai. But what do I do about the big force field thing? Izuku blinked, turning to see a large barrier was blocking them from progressing. A man stood behind it. Hakaji Tengai. Izuku groaned. I don't know how you know our names, but your road ends here. Rappa, deal with them. Don't tell me what to do. Danger sense flared, and Izuku dodged another barrage of punches. Senpai, see about breaking through that barrier. There's a limit to how much they can take. Kate, don't even think about it, girly. Rappa threw another barrage of punches at Nejaira, who barely dodged. Hold on, Rappa, why are you attacking Senpai? Izuku asked, an idea formulating. It's me you want to fight, even more than you want to fight Chisaki. Rappa paused, turning to Izuku. And why is that? What makes you a better opponent than the boss? Izuku began. Oh, hell yeah. Rappa suddenly seemed to forget about Nejaira's existence as he stormed at Izuku. Fight me, Greenie, seriously, Rappa. Stop getting distracted and deal with the girl. Tengai scolded to no avail as Nejaira began bombarding his barrier with everything she had. Izuku pulled back, summoning full cowling to the maximum the gunnels could take as he suddenly matched Rappa's high-speed punches with his own machine gun-style punches. Indianapolis smash. Izuku cried as he and Rappa traded fierce blows with each other, Izuku's armored costume just barely nullifying the damage. One of Izuku's punches broke through Rappa's defense and clocked the large man in the face, sending him flying into Tengai's barrier, which, already weakened from Nejire's continued assault, shattered as Rappa crashed into the man. Izuku stumbled, spitting up a bit of blood, his body bruised and beaten. "Are you okay, Deku-chan?" Nejire asked with concern. "I'll live." Izuku coughed. "My armor cushioned the worst of the blows." Rappa suddenly laughed as he sat up, still sitting on Tengai. "Damn kid, you can fight, and you don't rely on cheap tricks like Chisaki with his quirk. Screw that guy, I'm joining you." "Is this guy serious, Izuku?" "Rappa, get off." Tengai wheezed under Rappa's. "You had better not be serious. Shut the hell up." Rappa snapped, clocking the man. "So we can fight some other time." Izuku sighed, checking to make sure his ribs weren't broke. "We need to find her. Head up to the surface and tell the first hero you see the Deku sent you. If you find her along the way, then get 10-3 padded along softly through the halls, wincing every now and then at the sounds of fighting going on around the base. If heroes were attacking the place, then that meant Izuku Nai and Mirio Nai had to be here. Eri had to find them. They would, and she could give them the quirk destroy. They would know what to do with it. With renewed hope, she rounded a corner and ran straight into Chis. The man blinked, dumbfounded, as he zeroed in on the lip. "I think it's time you joined the boss in taking a knife." With that, his hand shot towards her. Chapped. Smash! Izuku's fist connected with Chisaki's jaw, and his fingers, mere millimeters from Miri's face, went flying with him through a nearby wall. Izuku stumbled to a stop as he slowly turned to Eri. "Do you know who I am?" Eri rushed forward. "Izuku Nai." The little girl sobbed. Izuku wrapped his arms tightly around her, stroked. "It's okay, Eri." Izuku choked out. "It's okay. I'm here now. I came as soon as I could. I'm here." "I knew you would come." Eri choked. Danger sense flared. Izuku heard Nejire yelp as the blue net leapt back from Chisaki's hand, his eyes wide with feral rage. "Give me." He slammed his hand into the ground, and the concrete exploded. "The child!" Izuku activated float as Nejire propelled herself through the air. Carrying Eri, the greenette took off through the complex with Nejire right behind him. Chisaki let out a howl of rage as he stormed after them. "Tenso, let me get this straight." Night-Eye sighed, feeling a headache coming on. "You got your ass kicked by an almost 15-year-old boy. Yep. And you greatly enjoyed getting your ass kicked by an almost 15-year-old boy." "That's right. In fact, you enjoyed it so much, man, you catch on quick." The Foresight user sighed heavily, rubbing his temples as he dealt with Rappa's annex. "Does anyone have any aspirin?" Night-Eye, the man blinked as a, "What is a Deku?" "Nejire and I found Eri, but Chisaki is hot on our tails. I can't risk fighting him in an enclosed space with Eri nearby." "No, Eri, this isn't your fault. I need you to ping our trackers and send someone to take Eri so we can deal with Chisaki on it. Oh, and please don't send Rappa. He'll probably want to fight, and I don't think Eri trusts him." "You're as rational as Eraserhead claims Midoriya." Night-Eye groaned sarcastically. "Tenth, the child is a curse. A blight on this already wretched society." Chisaki howled as he used his quirk to shift the environment as he kept on Izuku and Nejire's tails. He had already given up trying to shift the walls to impede them when Izuku just smashed through without breaking pace. Her only use is as a cure for the plague that has overtaken humanity. She will be the catalyst that saves us all from these wretched quirks. "Man, this guy really likes to talk, huh?" Nejire asked. Izuku promptly shot her a flat look. "What?" Danger sense flared as spikes jutted out. Izuku reeled as he tried. A hand grabbed the back of his. Why wasn't he dead? The hand left his collar as fast as it came. Power. Izuku turned just in time to see Mirio's fist slam into Chisaki's jaw, the Yakuza leader's arm phasing through Mirio's chest as he was lawn back from the force of the punch. Izuku swore he heard something crack. "Hey, glad I made it," Mirio said cheerfully. "And you must be Eri," he said to, "You know me, right?" Eri nodded. "Sorry, I don't have any memories of you, but there'll be time for that later," Izuku said, pushing Eri into Mirio's arm. "Will on it." Izuku and Nejire turned to Chisaki as Mirio fled with Eri. The man was standing, bloodlust in his eyes, as he repaired his broken jaw and straightened his mask. Tell me. He coughed as he stood. I did everything I could to erase the cursed child's existence from record. So how is it that you found out about her? There are things that even you can't account for, Chisaki. Izuku snapped. Regardless, I'm going to kill both of you, then I'm going to reclaim Eri and place her into a coma just like I did her grandfather. I only need her alive. Her state of consciousness does that include your own? Izuku demanded. I am enlightened. So at the end of the day, you're just a hypocritical narcissist out for power. Izuku snapped. That ends today, Chisaki. I won't let you hurt anyone anymore, especially Eri. The man narrowed his eyes before slamming his hand into the ground. Izuku and Nejar leapt out of the way of the incoming spikes. Hey, so tell me, why do you wear that mask? Nejar, it kinda reminds me of a bird. Are you dressed up as a bird? And your quirk is so good for healing. You could have gotten your license and worked as a doctor. You could have helped so many people. You're very Chisaki snarled as, do you ever Nejar froze, her life flashing before her eyes as Chisaki's hand neared her face. Bad memories. 10th. Hey, so how big can your spikes get anyway? How long can they get? Can you make them as dull or as sharp as you want? What about? God, you're so annoying. The boy snapped, and Nejar went, do you ever shut up? He turned and stomped off, leaving Nejar alone. The blue-haired girl looked around. The other kids tended to avoid her whenever they could. No one wanted to be near Nejar Hato and her non-stop motor mouth. The loneliness hurt. 10th 8 years AGO. Nejar's eyes sparkled as she took in the sight. She was among the crowd watching as heroes had surrounded a museum engulfed in flames. One in particular caught her eye, a new hero with a rabbit motif who was apparently making her debut. She seemed pretty eager to pummel the villains responsible for the mess and had left them in a pile nearby for the police to sort through. I think that's everyone. One of the veteran heroes, a rescue hero called Life Force, who could see the life ores people generated, called as he set a pair of victims down. Keep everyone out of the building until backup arrives. The rabbit hero, Mirko she was calling herself, walked up to say something. Then her ears twitched. Her head snapped to the burning building, and she promptly launched herself into it. Hey, what the hell is that rookie doing? One of the veterans cried. They heard the sound of crashing coming from within the building, then a few 10 seconds of silence. Mirko suddenly burst out of the building, carrying a little girl in her arms. You forgot someone. Mirko's voice was low and venomous. Life Force merely shrugged his shoulders. I didn't see her. Nejar blinked. Why was he being so nonchalant about this? That little girl could have died. Bullshit. Mirko growled, hefting the child up so she was more secure. Nejar could see she had short hair, blue like hers, but a darker shade, except for the tips of her hair, which were light blue like Nejar's hair. She also had unusual red shoes on her feet that you wouldn't expect to see on a little girl. The kid's got quirkless reds on, you bastard. I've seen your interviews, you know. You're just a quirkiest fuck who left her there to die. Keep your mouth shut, rookie. The man snapped. I needed to prioritize the more important victims. Who cares if one quirkless brat dies? This seemed to set off the other veterans, who began shouting at Life Force angrily. The man ignored them until a roundhouse kick from Mirko sent him flying into a pole with a busted jaw. Mirko sent down, being surprisingly gentle as she set down the apparent quirk. Hey, sweetie, what's your name? The little girl shook as she answered too quietly for Nejar to hear. Ai, huh? That's a nice name. Means blue, right? Though I guess it could also mean green. But your hair's blue, so we'll go with the first. Mirko ruffled the girl's hair, and Nejar knew this was how a hero should be. She wanted to be a hero. 10th 4 years AGO : They laughed. The entire class laughed at Nejar after her proclamation of wanting to be a hero. What are you gonna do, talk the villains into unconsciousness? One girl asked, and the laughter redoubled anew. Even in junior high, nobody wanted to be friends with the annoying girl who never stopped talking. When they were grouped up for projects, everyone else tended to ignore Nejar's input, mainly telling her to stop talking. That hurt. The loneliness hurt. So much. 10 3 years AGO : Sweetie, please come out. Her mother's soft voice echoed through Nejair's bedroom door. Nejair, please come tell us what's wrong. We're all worried about you, honey. The loneliness has worn Nejair down over the years until finally it had reached its breaking point. When she realized that she was probably going to be alone for the rest of her life, Nejair had a full breakdown in the middle of class and was sent home. Since then, she had locked herself in her room, not even coming out for school. Her parents had tried to talk to her, and her siblings had wanted her to play with them, but she didn't respond. She couldn't take it anymore. Tenth, it was funny. Everyone looked like ants from up here. Nejair's knuckles turned white as she gripped the railing. She had made up her mind, and under the moonlit sky, she threw herself over the edge of the building. She was about halfway to becoming a pancake when something wrapped around her hand pulled her roughly back up to the roof. Before Nejair knew it, she was kneeling on the roof, her hands and feet bound by some strange cloth. Shakily, she looked up. The cloth was being manipulated by some shaggy, hobo-looking guy in dark clothing. He had a scowl on his face, but hidden in his eyes was a glint of concern. Why did you do that? And Nejair broke. Tenth, the man, no, Eraserhead, had sat there with Nejair as she cried her heart out to him. She told him how none of the kids at school wanted anything to do with her, how she had no friends, how they laughed at the idea of being a hero. He didn't interrupt her. He didn't call her annoying and tell her to shut up. He just listened, and for once in her life, Nejair didn't feel lonely. 2 years ago, word had gotten out, and the other kids were now walking on eggshells around her. Apparently someone, whether it be their teacher or a pro, told her that if Nejair had actually managed to kill herself, they could have been held responsible. They no longer told her to shut up or called her annoying. They even listened when she suggested something during group projects. It all felt hollow. She had been attending therapy with UA's counselor, Hound Dog, at Eraserhead's insistence. It had helped. But we have a new student joining us today. The teacher called as she walked into the room. A girl with short, red hair following. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Yuyuheya, 10th Yuyu Mirio Tamaki or Yukio, Aizawa-sensei. Midoriya. Nejair exclamation. The blue-haired girl gasped, using wave motion to launch herself away from Chisaki's hand. No, she wasn't annoying. Yuyu-sensei, Hound Dog. They said it was good for her to have such healthy curiosity. As she fired out a blast of wave motion, she realized she wasn't alone anymore. She had people she could rely on when she was in a bad place. She wasn't pale. Knew she vaguely heard Midoriya's voice as he pulled her away from the area. Concrete spikes lodged deeply in her chest, and it didn't. Senpai. Midoriya's voice called. Her vision was growing fuzzy as he laid her against the hang in there. He pressed his earpiece down. Hello? Can anyone hear me? Nejair needs medical assistance now. Her limbs felt like lead as she held. He blinked tears away as he looked at her. It's okay. Nejair coughed out as her vision grew darker. She gave him a It doesn't hurt anymore. And then, nothing. Tense, Senpai. Izuku choked. Senpai, please answer me. Nejair. When he received no response, he held his hand up to feel for a pulse. He felt nothing. No. Izuku choked out. No. Danger sense flared and Izuku leapt. Nejair's lifeless form exploded into blood and gore. Izuku stood there, shaking, not even caring that a good amount of Nejair's blood had gotten into his mouth from that. She was an idiot. Chisaki said as he used his quirk to separate the blood. Izuku, maybe you should have brought actual experienced heroes instead of a damn child. Tendrils of energy began to emerge from Izuku's body. Not that it matters. Once I kill you, I'll reclaim the cursed child. And Chisaki exclamation. Chapter 17. Aizawa grunted as he used his capture scarf to pull himself up to the surface, taking in the ungodly destruction being caused by Midoriya's quirk. He leapt out of the way of a stray black-whipped tendril, which cleaved the ground and had struck apart. What the hell could have caused the boy to lose control like this? He weaved his way through startled heroes and Yakuza members, before he came upon Night Eye and Mirio, who was holding a little girl who matched Problem Child's description of very. Oh, Aizawa's here. The little girl gasped, and Aizawa had to stop himself from choking on his own spit from that nickname. He can stop Izuku Nai's quirk. I need to actually be able to see Midoriya to do that. Aizawa huffed as he took in the carnage. What the hell happened? I got a call from Midori requesting immediate medical aid for Nejair-chan. Night-Eye explained. 2 minutes later, this happened. Sir, you don't think. Mirio's face darkened as he realized the implications. You don't think that Nejair's injuries were worse than Midoriya initially thought, do you? Silence overtook them as realization dawned on them. Oh, Aizawa muttered. This couldn't happen again. No. Is Nejini dead? Yuri asked quietly. They all stiffened as a blood-curdling scream reached their ears before Chisaki slammed into the ground before them, bleeding profusely with his mask destroyed, several tendrils of black whip impaling him. Chisaki clawed at the ground desperately before he was violently yanked back into the air, the group wincing as he crashed into a wall with a sickening crack. All the Yakuza members who witnessed their boss screaming like a little bitch while being hurtled around like a ragdoll by some eldritch horror wisely decided that surrendering was a much better option. We need to do something before he levels the whole block. Night-Eye stated. Right. Hey, where did Eri go? Mirio asked. The two adults looked around to see that the precious unicorn was indeed gone. Problem children, Aizawa groaned, before looking up and seeing a news chopper in the sky. Damn, oh hell yeah, exclamation. Aizawa blinked as he said, I knew you were holding back, Greeny, exclamation. Come on and fight him. Rappa was suddenly flicked into a nearby building by a stray tendril of energy. Aizawa just stared, dumbfounded. What the F? 10th, holy shit. Is that Midoriya? The majority of the class promptly gathered around Yumara-san to look at her phone, on which they could see a live news coverage of an eldritch horror with a familiar green-haired boy at the center. Yeesh, he's really gonna town on that guy. Kenoro mused. What do you think he did to piss him off so much? Nearby, Ai and Achako stared at their own phones in disbelief, and Shinato-san went pale as he realized he had gotten off very lucky with Midori. 10th, holy shit, is that Deku? Tsubasa yelped as he looked at his phone. Oh my God, that is him, Fingers replied as he also looked at the phone. Let me see that. Bakugo snapped, snatching the phone away. He stared at the screen, then his face contorted in rage. With an enraged shout, he exploded the phone. Dude, what the hell? My phone, Tsubasa complained. Forget about your phone, dude. Finger. It's obvious Deku is somehow faking a quirk and weaseled his way into a raid. We gotta call. You're right. That's the smart thing to. Tsubasa agreed. Their fellow classmates wondered how the hell these two made it this far. 10th, Chisaki could feel every broken bone in his body, which was pretty much all of them at this point. He could even feel a few stabbing into his organs as he landed brutally on the ground and saw the boy No, the demon, standing above him, tendrils of energy having torn his costume apart. Please, Chisaki begged, spitting up blood. Please have mercy. Mercy. Izuku snarled. Mercy. How dare you! Exclamation. Chisaki groaned as more tendrils pierced his body. After everything you've done, all the people you've hurt, all the suffering you've caused, Eri, you have no right to sit there and beg for mercy! Exclamation. Izuku raised his fist, pouring every last punch of energy he could into it, including all his saved-up energy from Fajin, a punch at 145%. It would kill Chisaki instantly. Izuku didn't care. Paying no heed to the sound of a nearby news chopper, he reeled his arm back to deal the ending blow. A pair of tiny hands. Izuku whirled around, and there was Eri looking at, pleading for him. In that single instant, the fight in Izuku's fury. And then Chisaki. Danger sense went berserk as Chisaki's fingertips were mere centimeters from Izuku's face. Then the hand retracted as Chisaki howled in agony. Izuku turned wide-eyed in horror as he took in the look of terror on Eri's face. Her horns. Chisaki's broken bones realigned themselves. Then, all the while, he wailed in absolute. Izuku could only look on as, for a brief few moments, he heard the wail of an infant. Then nothing. Izuku turned back to Eri. The young girl was. Izuku shuffled. It was then that everything. 10th all for one laughed. It was a genuine laugh, not the mocking ones he usually used, and it terrified Garaki. Oh, the irony is hilarious. The faceless man cackled. Tamura, are you watching the news? Yes, Sensei. A raspy voice came from over the microphone. How the hell did the damn brat even get to be in a Yakuza raid? Never mind that. All for one suit. The child, the girl with white hair. It seems she is some kind of quirk that can rewind organic matter like an old VHS. I want you to bring her to me, Tamura, alive. All for One gave a disturbing grin. I want her quirk. Of course, Sensei. Anything for you. With that, the audio cut off. It is a shame, though, that Overhaul was lost. Karaki lamented. Think of the possibilities that Quark could hang on. He pulled out his ringing phone and answered. Yes, are you serious? The elderly doctor sighed. I'm on my way. He hung up and turned to his master. I'll be back, my lord. My idiot grandson got arrested for abusing the emergency services system, and now I need to go bail him out. As he left, he could be heard mumbling. I swear to God I'm turning the kid into a Namu when he graduates junior high. At least then he'll actually be useful. All alone, All for One was left to his thoughts. Strange, though. Given the boy's current body type, it suggests that he only gained One for All recently due to its power being too dangerous for a normal body type. If that were the case, though, it shouldn't have hit singularity this soon. He shouldn't be able to use Black Whip already. How curious. 10th one day later, Izuku awoke with a yelp. Yuri, the door flew open, and a white cloth wrapped around him and pulled him back down to the bed. Calm down, problem child. Where are we? In your bedroom. Izuku paused. Were you watching me sleep? Don't make this weird, problem child. I was on my way to check up on you when I heard you wake up. He released his capture scarf's hold on the boy. You passed out from exhaustion after pushing Black Whip far past what your body can handle. Other than some scrapes and bruising coupled with minor internal bleeding, you're fine. Obviously, you were a and Eri. She's downstairs. She wanted to be up here with you, but we weren't sure if you would wake up and use your quirk on accident. The man sighed, rubbing his forehead. Night Eye's finishing up the paperwork for the raid. The Rapid guy is hospitalized for injuries inflicted when he tried to charge into Black Whip under heavy sedation because he keeps trying to challenge the other patients to a fight, and both Nedzu and All Might had to pull a lot of strings to keep Eri from being detained. Why detained? A news chopper caught the last minutes of your fight with Chisaki. Just the fact that Eri used her quirk alone was illegal, but she used it to rewind Chisaki out of existence. No matter how you want to play it, Midoriya, that little girl killed a man on live TV. She never would have done that if she wasn't truly desperate. The law won't see it that way, kid. A piercing silence washed over them for several long moments before Izuku spoke again. Sensei. Hado-senpai. The only thing left of her was a pile of blood and mush. Aizawa said in an We asked her if her quirk would work, but all she said was it didn't work the first time. Izuku knew what that meant. In the original timeline, Ashido had told him they desperately tried to use Uri's quirk to revive Midnight Sensei after the paranormal.
Okay, we don't know if that actually means true if Eric can revive someone actually in the anime. I don't think it's in manga yet, but we'll find out eventually if that's true or not. Oh yeah, because the manga isn't finished yet, it's still being made, so it could imply some stuff.
Liberation War during the time Izuku was comatose, but all it did was waste what little energy Eri had in reserve. As powerful as Uri's quirk was, not even it could resurrect the dead. I promised that when I became a teacher, I wouldn't let anyone else end up like Aburo. God damn it, Aizawa groaned. I failed that girl. I never should have let her come on that raid. I'm just as much to blame, Sensei. I specifically asked for her to be on the raid without realizing what she had been going through. She seemed to have been completely over it by the time we met in the original timeline. We won't get anywhere blaming ourselves. Aizawa sighed, reaching into his pocket. I need to talk to you about something. Eri had this on her. Izuku paled as he held up a vial of liquid. She said, this one's permanent. The man tossed the vial to Izuku. What do you want to do with it? Izuku was about to say destroy it, but then a memory flashed through his mind of AI in the hospital, looking in despair at an unmoving Hiriko. Izuku breathed, sitting up. I need to talk to her. He managed to stumble his way downstairs, where he found Eri watching a pre-quirk anime about a spy who adopts telepath and marries an assassin. Eri, the little girl, shot up, eyes wide, before she ran over to Izuku, wrapping her arms tight around him. Izuku, die. Izuku bent down and stroked her hair. I'm fine. Everything's okay now. Marie, I need to talk to you about something. He held out the vial. I know Chisaki had hurt you a lot. I know he wanted to use this drug to hurt many people. But right now, both this drug and your quirk can be used hurting. Yuri cocked her head curiously. Is their quirk a curse? After a moment, yes, unlike your quirk, has made her do horrible things to someone she cares dearly about against her will. Marie, I know what this drug means to you. If you don't want me to use it, if you just want me to destroy it, then I will, without question. I won't use it without your permission. It'll help her. Yes, I think it will. I want to help her. Okay. Izuku stood. Sensei, can you get Nedzu to meet us at the hospital? Why? Because I highly doubt the staff are just going to let us waltz in and inject one of their patients with a strange, untested drug. A tenth of students of Class 2 stared in confusion as their principal entered the room. What concerned them the most was the somber look on the normally chipper mammal's face as he stepped up to the podium. As some of you may have seen on the news, a raid on the Yakuza group known as the Shihasekai was conducted yesterday. Several U.S. students participated in the raid. There were casualties on both sides, though. I am sorry to say that your classmate Nejar Hato is dead. The class stared in horror, and Yu Uehea let out a strangled "Yue." We'll be holding a memorial service for Hato-san this Sunday at noon on school grounds. I am deeply sorry this has befallen us, and I hope you all give each other the strength to see it through. As he walked out of the classroom, his phone rang. Aizawa, do you need something? Tenth AI didn't know what to think when Izuku called and asked her to come to AI-chan's hospital. For some reason, she pushed open the door, and she saw Izuku standing with a pair of pros and a little girl. All at once, Achako rushed up to him, and then she slapped him. What the hell is wrong with you? Did you think we would? Need I remind you that we're in a hospital? Aizawa drawled as he released his capture scarf. Yeah, I'm a WI. Did you call? She, AI, Izuku, I have a way to save Hirako. AI's eyes widened as Izuku stepped back, producing the quirk-destroying drug. Now hold on. You can't just come in here and... Excuse me. Nedzu interrupted. Who am I? The doctor. You're Nedzu who? The doctor sighed. You're the principal of UA. That's right. Now shut up and let the boy do his thing. Izuku Inari stepped up to the bed, the boy giving the child a reassuring smile as she placed her tiny hands on Hirako's arm. Her horn began to glow, expand as the light of her. Izuku plugged the vial into the room and the second the flow, she lifted up her hands, staring at them, flexing her finger. AI-chan. AI asked quietly as she moved to the bedside. Hirako blinked, her eyes swiveling to meet AI's. After a few seconds of tense silence, she lunged forward, wrapping her arms tightly around AI as she broke down crying. I'm sorry. Hirako sobbed as AI began to cry too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was in that little hospital room that two dear friends were finally reunited after almost a decade. Notes: what the hell do we do about this? Why are you asking me? This was your quirk originally. You honestly had no idea One for All could do this? The only thing I was good for in this quirk was transferring it. Even I don't fully understand One for All. I'm just as surprised as you guys are. We need to tell Midoriya. Yoichi sighed heavily, turning to look from Nana to their surprise addition. He had been trapped in this quirk for almost 2 centuries, but even he never expected the development before him. Looking over the slowly forming vestige of Nejar Hato one last time, he had only one thing on his mind. God, I wish I could fucking drink.
I see more in here. Ugh. Hmm. 18. Okay. 19. Maybe I should have notes on this one. They don't actually matter. Oh shit, come on. Right here. Let's just keep watching then. Listen to me.
The car is quiet. AI sat fidgeting awkwardly, having been discharged from the hospital after the doctors had examined her one last time, the MRI showing that her brain damage had been completely healed, physically at least. Apparently, she had experienced some memory loss due to the brain damage, made very much evident when she seemed to have no idea who Izuku was, and having only very fuzzy and incomplete memories of Achako. Other than that, she seemed uncomfortable, a stark contrast to the bright and cheerful demeanor AI had spoken of. Though Izuku guessed it was understandable, AI had spent the last decade a prisoner in her own body, forced to do horrible things to someone she cared dearly about. It was bound to take a toll on her emotional health. Nezu was going to make arrangements for her to start meeting Hound Dog. For now, they were on their way to the Midoriya household. Nezu had said he wanted to discuss something with Inko. They pulled up to the house and the group was welcomed in by the Midoriya matriarch. Achako sat with Aelia and AI in the living room while Aizawa contended with Uri. Izuku followed his mother and Nezu into the kitchen. I'm going to be blunt. Uri needs someone to take her in. Nezu stated, I'm not saying that you have to be the one to do it, but she needs a home urgently. If you don't wish to do so but know someone who would be glad to adopt her, that would be very helpful. Inko blinked, surprised by the mammal's forwardness. First, this is all very sudden, Nezu, sir. I understand, but it is urgent we get her under someone's legal care as soon as possible. As I said, you are under no obligation. I'm merely asking you first since she trusts your son so much. If you do agree, then I will gladly handle the necessary paperwork for you. I apologize for pulling this on you so suddenly, but believe me when I say the girl's future is at stake. First, let me call Hisashi. We've talked about having another kid, but with him so busy at work, we just haven't had the time. Let me see what he thinks. Of course, take your time. As Inko left the kitchen, Izuku rounded to Nezu. Sir, what's going on? Nezu sighed deeply. After you passed out, a group of heroes showed up at the scene of the raid, acting under the orders of the Heroes Public Safety Commission to detain young Uri. Izuku took a moment to process that, then groaned, slamming his head into the table. Of course. Of fucking course. They saw her use her quirk on the news and now they want to make her into another Hawks. Unfortunately, luckily All Might showed up shortly after and we were able to get them to back off. It helps that we already had police officers on hand to remind them that heroes have no legal authority to arrest and detain someone, and that, contrary to popular belief, the Commission has absolutely no authority over the Japanese police, who themselves were appalled at the thought of arresting a clearly traumatized 6-year-old. Even so, that's why you need someone to take Inari, to make it harder for the Commission to get their hands on her. Exactly. And I figured that since she has a fairly good grasp on her quirk, it won't do much to stop them if they decide to try something desperate. Maybe not, but it will certainly make things much harder. And if they should decide to get desperate, we shall have to act accordingly. Neju sighed. As much as I would love to bring the Commission to its knees right out of the gate, the sad truth is that much of Hero Society relies too heavily on them. When Mira took over as acting president in the original timeline, he was actually pretty decent at it. Izuku limited. Nowhere near as bad as the current president. He had his faults, but he wasn't trying to actively force society under his control. Unfortunately, he's pretty low on the list of succession, so we can't exactly rely on that. It is something that we'll have to shelve for later. Neju sighed. You know, I let the prospect of saving Hirokon distract me for a little while, but now that that's over and done with, everything that happened yesterday is just crawling its way back in. Midoriya, I was so stupid. I wanted Hato-senpai in on the raid because she was there in the original timeline. I never knew she was going through her own problems at this time. I should have acted faster. I could have saved her. First, I could have. Ned's gently placed his paw on Izuku's arm. If anyone is to blame for this ordeal, it's me. As principal, I was fully aware of Hato-san's emotional health issues. I could have denied her position in the raid at any time for those issues alone, but I chose not to. Trust me, nobody is more frustrated with this situation than me. My student Dr. 9, Izuku jumped as Yo. Sorry to interrupt, but we need to talk. It's kind of urgent. Is something the matter? The Vestiges want to talk to me in person. Izuku sighed. Said it's urgent. He stood up with a sigh. All Might is on his way. 10th nowadays, entering the Vestige world of One for All was as simple as laying down and closing his eyes. Izuku manifested inside of the void, taking in the group of chairs that the Vestiges used. Wait, was it just him? Or was there one more chair than the last time Izuku came here? You're here. Izuku turned to see Yoichi walking up to him. What's going on? You said it was urgent. The first honestly, it would be easier to just show you. He stepped aside, and Izuku's eyes widened as he took in the slowly forming vestige of Neji Hato. What the F? 10th Udge if anyone wants some, Inko said, placing the tray of fudge on the coffee table before sliding back into the kitchen to prep dinner. The room was silent as Iri took some fudge, looking at the three girls in the room curiously. Finally, Ochako spoke up. Hirokon. Don't call me that. I squeaked, panicked. That name? My parents made me take that name. Don't call me that. I hate it. Ochako reeled back a little. Okay, what would you like me to call you then? Uzumaru. My name is AI Uzumaru. Okay, Uzumaru-san. I'm going to admit I never really like you all that much. Now, after realizing what your parents have put you through. Well, I can't exactly say that I fully accept you, but I can tolerate you until I get a feel for the kind of person you really are. But I can't say that everyone at school is going to feel the same way. These past 3 years, the only good name you've made for yourself at Yamawari is that you're one of the top students academically. People aren't just going to forget all the suffering you've put AI through all this time, even if none of that was even your fault. AI blinked before bowing her head. Thank you for giving me a chance, Uraraka-san. Ochako nodded her head, and suddenly AI lifted her eyes with a mischievous smirk. Also, you two are on first-name basis. Ochako blubbered incoherently while AI turned red and let out a loud squeak. You don't get any funny ideas. Ochako practically looked around the room. Are you both gonna marry Izuku now? Ochako practically blue-screened while AI froze as if she had AI won. There was no way the situation. I am. Spoke too soon. Here to see my young apprentice. All Might slammed the door open in all his hamminess, only to pause at the sight of Ochako and AI staring. Grandpa Tashinori's here. Iri cried innocently, running up to see the man as Ochako. Wait, Tashinori. Crap, 10th fuck is Nejair doing here? Izuku cried, distraught as he took in the sight. Honestly, we're all just as surprised as you. Yoichi sighed. She showed up here shortly after you passed out at the Yakuza raid. It seems that she's slowly forming a vestige in One for All. How, we don't know for sure, but we think it may have had something to do with you accidentally swallowing her blood after Overhaul destroyed her body. Or, as Banjo puts it, popped her like an overfilled water balloon. Nana smacked him pretty hard for that comment. I didn't even know One for All could work like that. Izuku cried out in distress as he examined the vestige. Neither did I, and I've been here longer than anyone else. Honestly, this seems more like something All for One could do, not One for All. Senpai, can you hear me? Izuku asked, but the vestige gave no indication of hearing him, her eyes remaining closed. She doesn't seem to have gained consciousness yet, Yoichi pondered. But it's likely that when she becomes complete, you may gain access to her quirk. How am I supposed to explain that to her loved ones? Izuku freaked. Honestly, that's the least of your problems. I checked, and Nejair's power has multiplied that of One for All. It's even stronger now, which means you can now use even less of its power safely. Izuku blinked owlishly as he processed the information. To that, he only had one thing to say. Fuck! Exclamation. AI paid no attention as All Might attempted to explain himself to Ochako and AI. She instead reflected in the completely, "Are you two gonna marry Izuku?" It was with that one completely innocent and childish question that everything made sense. AI finally understood the giddiness and excitement she felt whenever, and that made her chapter. Izuku stumbled down the stairs and into the living just in time to. He came in as All Might, didn't he? Yep, Ochako. Izuku sighed. At this point, I'm wondering if you're doing this on purpose. He shook his head. All Might, I need to talk to you about my quirk. It's urgent. The skeletal man blinked. The green-haired boy led him to the backyard. Their neighbors were a good distance away, and the back led in. There was little chance of them being overheard. What's going on, young Midoriya? How does this concern One for All? All Might? You heard about what happened to Hato-sen? I did. I'm truly sorry for that. The girl had a bright future in heroics. Her death is a tragedy. Somehow, Hato-senpai is forming a vestige in One for All. He paused as Toshinori spewed up blood into the grass. How? The symbol of peace choked as he finished coughing. When Chisaki destroyed her body, I accidentally swallowed some of her blood. The vestiges think that's how it happened. Damn it, what the hell? I didn't even know this quirk could do that. Wait, does that mean you can gain other people's quirks by ingesting their blood? I'm not sure if I can do it to everybody, or if it only happened because Nejair was already dead. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to go around drinking blood just to get new quirks. Nejair's vestige has barely formed, and she's already multiplied One for All's power. Yesterday, I was able to use 25%. Now I can barely use 10%. Shit, Toshinori groaned. Have you been able to talk with Hato-san? Her vestige hasn't even gained consciousness. Izuku explained. It'll be a while before she'll be able to talk to me. Damn it, I'll let the others know. There's not much we can do right now anyway. Before we go inside, I need to talk to you about the MLA. Toshinori sighed. We've worked out a plan. Endeavor Hawks and I will sage Deka City along with the Japanese military, while groups of police and pro-heroes will take the MLA-controlled schools at the same time. Do you know when the best time to strike the schools while minimizing danger to the students? I'm not sure about the other schools, but at Aldera, the majority of the staff spend lunch in the teacher's lounge, with the exception of one of two teachers stationed in the cafeteria to monitor students. Then that's when we'll strike. I bet the commission was happy the diet made them hand over their top 3 heroes, especially their mouthpiece Hawks. Oh, the president was furious, especially since the prime minister wouldn't explain why beyond a matter of national security. Toshinori chuckled. You should have seen it. I always love seeing that woman get knocked down a peg or 3. It's times like this that the commission needs to be reminded that they're not in complete control. Exactly. There's one thing that's been bugging me about the MLA, though. Oh, their discrimination towards mutants. I distinctly remember seeing more than a few people with heteromorphic quirks among their numbers in the original timeline. Ned's presented a theory on that. Toshinori looked up thoughtfully. He suspects the discrimination towards mutants is a ploy. Make them feel unsafe and unwanted by society as a whole, and then the army itself opens its arms to them, the people completely unaware that their salvation was actually causing their suffering all this time, discriminating against mutants in order to recruit them. That's messed up, indeed. But I think we can at least take solace in the fact that there are some who refuse to fall down the path of terrorism just because society shunned them. 10th Achu exclamation. Kiro 10th, a large masked boy with 6 webbed arms, looked around his mostly empty room, blinked, then went back to doing whatever he did in his free time. 10th later that night, the entire group of people sat around the dinner table. Izuku noticed that Hirokon, or Yuzumaru as she demanded to be called, didn't really seem to be a picky eater as she gladly wolfed down anything that was placed in front of her. So I talked with your father. Inko began as she looked towards Izuku, and we both agreed that adopting Eri is the best solution. Izuku blinked owlishly. That was fast. It's only been a couple of hours. I only needed to mention how fond of you she seemed, and he was all for it. Izuku felt a small tug on his sleeve and looked down. Does this mean you're Nai-chan? Izuku blinked, thinking about it for a second. I guess it does, if you want to call me that, that is. Okay, Nai-chan. There was a loud thump as AI hit the floor. Is she okay? Inko asked worriedly. She was overwhelmed by sheer cuteness. AI explained quietly. 10th the next Dawai. The next day was spent buying stuff for Ri's bedroom. All paid for by All Might at his insistence, though Izuku had to postpone the beach cleanup for today. Achako had offered to come help, even bring a couple of classmates who either cooed over the little girl or were a bit terrified of her after her little display on live TV. Hey, couldn't we just go to the mall to get this stuff? Yumara asked. No, Izuku and Achako replied immediately. Yumara blinked, then shrugged as she carried the bed towards the moving truck All Might had rented. Eri, meanwhile, seemed to go out of her way to avoid the spider girl at all costs. When Izuku asked Eri what was wrong, the little girl only said that her presence feels wrong. Izuku had no idea what that meant, but Yumara wasn't setting off danger sense or anything, so he didn't try to press her. Oh, AI, that one's kinda heavy, let me. Achako blinked owlishly as AI easily lifted the actually pretty heavy side table. It's okay. But thank you, AI said quietly as she carried the side table towards the truck. Izuku turned towards AI. Are we sure she's quirkless? Oh, positive. The black-haired girl stated. I know her dad had her subjected to blood tests just to make sure. Her body literally doesn't have a quirk factor. Izuku would have asked her to make sure Yumara stacked everything correctly, but he ended up having to physically restrain the spider girl when AI had gotten there, only getting her to stop trying to maim AI when Izuku pointed out Yumara-san was scaring Eri. It had seemed some of their classmates weren't going to forgive AI that easily. 10th the day after : Izuku stood back as he watched the memorial service, his hand clutching Eri's tightly. He could see Nejire's family. Her mom and dad, her little brother and sister. Aren't you gonna say anything to them? Amajiki asked as he walked up beside the two. What am I supposed to say? Sorry, my impulsiveness and lack of forward thinking got you. They don't blame you, you know. Amajiki sighed. They know it wasn't really your fault. He took a deep sigh. I can't really say the same for her friend Yuyuhea, though. She's distraught. I don't think she'll listen to whatever you have to say. I'll keep that. Izuku sighed. 10th the third day : Is that Haji-san? Why is she hanging out with Hirokon? After everything she did. Do you think Hirokon's manipulating her or something? I don't know. Think we should do something. AI turned around. Hi, she waved cheerfully. The girls glared at her before turning and walking away. AI blinked. It's not your fault. AI quietly reassured her. AI sighed before going to her homeroom. 10th Eri's adjusting to living with us really well. Izuku stated as he and Achako walked down the. That's great. I know. Achako yeah, and thanks to Principal Ned's we were able to streamline the adoption process. Now we just gotta try and introduce her to. Izuku paused as they came up to his house, spotting an older man standing with Eri in the front yard. Achako raised an eyebrow, but Izuku's face. Dad. Izuku rushed forward. The black-haired man coughed out a bit of smoke before standing. Izuku, look at you. You've gotten tall. Why didn't you say you were coming home today? Hisashi chuckled. I wanted it to be a surprise. I got some time off of work and was able to fly back home. Wanted to see the new house and meet the newest member of the family. You're my papa now, Yuri asked curiously. You can call me whatever makes you comfortable, sweetie. Okay, papa, Yuri said quietly. What's that around your neck? This, Hisashi picked at the mouth mask currently slung around his neck. It's a support item. My quirk is kind of volatile, so I wear this regularly to keep from accidentally setting stuff on fire. He coughed, a small burst of flame coming from his mouth. But enough about that. Izuku, your quirk finally came in. You'll have to show me. Izuku grinned. This was gonna be fun. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice you, Hisashi said as he noticed Achako. You must be Izuku's girlfriend. Achako went red as Izuku's soul left his body. W what? W or not. Achako tried. Achako ni and Ai ni are gonna marry Nai-chan. Yuri cried innocently. Achako's soul promptly joined Izuku's on its journey into the unknown. 10th YET another DOI colon. So I noticed you and Hedges-san are spending a lot of time with Midoriya lately. Imara teased. Achako groaned. Not this again. We're not dating. We're all just friends. Sure. Hanako teased. All right, smartass. If we're on the subject of love, then who's your perfect partner? Hanako looked up and thought, well, she's gotta have an energetic and fun-loving personality. And she's gotta get along with other people really well. Oh, and she's gotta have a great ass. 10th thought chewed. Damn it, Mina. You just sneezed acid all over my homework. Oops, sorry. 10th the final day colon. This is ridiculous. Endeavor huffed as he sat in the meeting room. Why must I waste my precious time dealing with these meta-liberation wannabes? Oh, chill out, Endeavor. Hawks grinned. Trust me, this beats anything the Commission could give me. We have intel showing that a good number of Meta-Liberation Army members, specifically their upper ranks, are quite proficient in the usage of their quirk, a military commander told them, to the point that they can even overpower most pros. We need to hit them hard in order to nip this in the bud. What of the members who are masquerading as pro-heroes? All might ask. They're being dealt with as we speak. Tomorrow is when the raid truly begins. Over the past week, our forces have been picking off MLA strongholds. All they really have left are their indoctrination centers disguised as schools and their primary base of Deka City. Tomorrow morning, we'll strike all of them at once. You three will be working with the main military forces to take Deka, while smaller groups of heroes and police will siege the indoctrination centers. Are there any questions? No questions were asked. Very well, then let's go over the plan in detail. Tamura is almost ready, my lord. Modifying his body to simply take a second quirk is far simpler than modifying it to take all for one. Excellent, my lord. I'm afraid I still have some concerns about giving him the unassisted flight quirk, especially the original. The vestige has been dormant for years. Do not worry, doctor. I would not hand this quirk to young Tamura if I did not think he could handle it. But why that quirk specifically, my lord? Consider it poetics. All for one smiled. Once I hand Tamura this quirk, brother and sister will be reunited for the first time in years. The grin turned wicked, even if he doesn't remember ever having a sister. Chapter 20. Bakugo was pissed when wasn't he pissed? Ever since the sludge villain incident, the damn Deku had been getting more and more attention. This was supposed to be his story, damn it. Deku was supposed to be a little bug that he could step on whenever he wanted. Now he was going on raids and getting involved with heroes, all because of that weak little quirk of his. He even has the principle of UA under his heel. Everybody had to be fucking blind and stupid if they couldn't see that Katsuki Bakugo was the best of the best, that he was the one who would eventually surpass even All Might. As much as he wanted to stomp all the way over to my prefecture and kick Deku's scrawny little ass just to put him back in his place, he knew that damn rat was watching him closely. With a grumble, Bakugo slammed down his bento and sat. Just before he could even do much as open the damn thing, though, the cafeteria doors burst open and a whole squadron of police and pro-heroes stormed in, immediately tackling and cuffing the teachers, watching them to the confused shouts of the students. Bakugo snarled. Why did he have the feeling Deku was somehow involved in this? 10th Izuku blinked, pulling his phone out of his pocket as he swallowed a bite of his sandwich. How is Su-chan calling me during school hours? He pressed the button and held the phone to his ear. Hello, Midoriya-chan. A whole battalion of police and pro-heroes just stormed into my school and are arresting all of the teachers. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? Kuro. Izuku picked at his collar. Hey, look on the bright side. Now you have more time at home with Satsuki and Samadare. Atsu. I don't recall ever telling you my siblings' names, Midori-chan. Ugetega lunch is about on. Izuku hung up. Lunch just started. Yeah, I said quietly. Izuku sighed. Hey, Midoriya. Yumara slid over. Isn't this your old school? She held up her phone, on which a live news feed was playing. 10th, we just got confirmation. The Aldera building is empty. The police chief sighed. Excellent. Nedzu turned. I've been waiting for this for several weeks. A special occasion like this calls for much more grand spectacle than a silly old wrecking ball, the chief sighed. Normally, he wouldn't allow something like this, but Nedzu had pulled the whole principle of UA card. Normally, the title wouldn't really allow someone to get away with whatever they wanted, but somehow Nedzu always made it work. 10th Rikiya Yatsubashi, known to his followers as the Grand Commander of the revived Meta Liberation Army, Redestro, was angry. He watched as Aldera, one of his army's many indoctrination centers, was shut down on live TV. No matter. I can fix this. He growled as the students were let out and the teachers were cuffed. We'll simply purchase the shut-down schools and reopen them. We'll be more careful with what we do. The news reporter on the TV paused as the ground began to shake violently. An earthquake. The camera suddenly panned towards the Aldera building, just in time to see a massive, skyscraper-sized robot on top of it. As the mammal cackled, the robot raised a building-sized hand and brought it down upon the building, flattening a good portion of it under its palm. The robot swiped its hand, leveling the rest of the building, before bringing its hand down on the debris again for good measure before the massive hunk of metal straightened back. Ahem, thank you all for your time, and with that the massive robot turned and left with the mammal, leaving the crowd completely dumbstruck. Redestro stared at the TV, his jaw slack and his eyebrow twitching. The door flew open as Chitos Kazuki, also known as Curious, stumbled in, looking disheveled and panicked. Grand Commander, we have a problem. What could possibly be more important than our indoctrination centers being shut down? Redestro grumbled. The Japanese military has just surrounded the city. Immediately, Redestro snapped out of his mood, leaping from his chair and throwing the office blinds open. Just as Curious had told him, the city was surrounded on all sides by armed soldiers, and we've just received reports that out of the shutdown of the indoctrination, what the hell was coming to OSH? The windows shattered as Hawks blasted through like a bullet, his feathers immediately moving to impale Curious before she could react, another set of them pinning Rita's throat. The number you know, for the leader of a major terrorist organization, you ain't really hot. Terrorist. Ricky grit his teeth, black energy. Terrorist? How dare you? Whatever helps you sleep at night, Pinocchio. With a howl of rage, Redestro broke free of Hawk's feather and lunged at the winged hero, who had promptly taken off into the sky carrying an unconscious Curious and still bearing that infuriating grin. Wow, our intel was right. You do have anger issues. Hawks laughed. Guess that's the drawback to having a quirk called stress. What? How do you know about my meta ability? I've done everything to ensure its true nature was hidden from the HPSC. Hawks tapped the bridge of his nose. We had a really good informant. What the hell was that supposed to mean? Did they have a traitor? A mole? Someone with a time-traveling meta ability? Well, that last one was really unlikely, so it has to be one of the first two. Redestro decided he was done with the annoying bird. 80% liberation. X. HMPH absolutely. And yes, weaklings like them will never get anywhere in life, will they? Endeavor straighten up. You understand more than anyone, don't you, Enji Todoroki? Only the strongest can prevail against the weak. A wave of ice slammed through the streets, engulfing the remaining MLA soldiers as Endeavor increased the strength of his flames. A man in an icy blue parka stood atop the ice, glowing eyes staring at him. You would be a valuable member of the Metal Liberation Army, and yet you choose to fight as a hero, a government lackey. So you are getting them. The parka-wearing man recoiled. What, you know who I am? I do. Our informant was quite thorough with his information and never took a step forward, increasing the temperature of his flames. According to that information, you can't create ice, only manipulate it. Getting growled, pulling up his ice as Endeavor crossed his arms. Prominence burn. A powerful belt of fire ripped through the area, melting the ice around them as Geddon burrowed below it. When Endeavor was finished, a great majority of Geddon's ice had not only been melted, but the resulting water evaporated from the heat of Endeavor's attack. Without access to ice, your quirk is useless. Damn you, Endeavor. Geddon broke free of his ice, manipulating what was left as he prepared to attack. We know about your meta ability as well. Your flames overheat your body. A powerful attack like Prominence Burn means you need to stop. With that, he formed 10th Hawks narrowly dodged the great ball of energy that Redestro called Stess Output Burden. The man was easily keeping up with the winged hero in his state when the number 3 decided he needs to prioritize getting Curious locked up before she woke and decided, "Hey," Hawks spoke into his earpiece. "He's all yours, big guy." Redestro paused as Hawks took off with Curious. "Big guy? Who the hell was he?" Smash! A massive fist struck Redestro in the jaw, sending him flying back into his tower, the entire building groaning as it was made even more unstable. Rikiya scrambled to his feet. It couldn't be. Surely the Japanese military couldn't have planned that far ahead. As he saw the tower of muscle walking towards him, he realized that, yes, they had indeed planned that far ahead. Rikiya Yatsubashi. Or do you prefer Redestro? I guess it doesn't really matter in the long run. Your army is coming to its end today anyway. The symbol of peace spoke with barely contained anger. All those children that you've beaten, abused, and manipulated. All those people who have had their lives ruined by those following your twisted ideals. All the mutant quirk people you've manipulated into your army, and all the quirkless children you've pushed over the edge just because they didn't fit your own values. All of that ends today. All Might stood tall, and Redestro had to suppress a shiver when he realized the normally hammy number 1 wasn't smiling. "Because I am here!" exclamation. "My lord, we've received reports from our spies in the Metal Liberation Army. The Japanese military and the top 3 heroes are assaulting Deka City. Oh, so that fool All Might is now taking on Destro's descendant." All for one smiled. Now how did he learn about them to begin with, I wonder? Chapter 21. Endeavor grunted, sending another gout of flames at Geddon as he clutched at the bleeding hole in his side. Despite his best efforts, the quite frankly infuriating Iceman has managed to impale him with ice that quickly melted from Endeavor's body heat, leaving nothing to plug the wound. Pathetic. So this is the power of the man second to All Might. I'm disappointed. Getting brought. Yo, what's up? Hawk smirked as he fluttered down, the unconscious Curious slung over his shoulder. Can't you take anything seriously? Endeavor snarled. I thought you were supposed to be dealing with Redestro. All Might's dealing with Dr. Doofenshmirtz right now, so I'm taking Grape Face to the lockup. Getting straightened. So All Might is here then? Endeavor. All that, he demanded. You misunderstand me, Todoroki. I believe in a world where only the strong can thrive, but I am not so stupid as to believe Redestro will stand a chance against the symbol of peace. I am merely abandoning ship while it struggles to stay afloat. I will find others who believe in strength, but I guess today marks the end of... Endeavor fired a jet of flame. Hawks, I'm sending out feathers to find him. The number 3 replied. Then he jerked, ripping Curious off of him just as some of his feathers exploded. Really, lady? Those take time to grow back, you know! Exclamation. Hawks. The woman had a predatory grin as she clutched onto some of his feathers. Now you'll make an interesting story. The youngest to ever reach the top 10, but your past is a giant mystery. How about an interview? The man chuckled. Trust me, that's a rabbit hole you do not want to go down. I'm a reporter. Controversy is my whole livelihood. She reached up towards the feathers holding her. Lady, trust me, you do not want to. Feathers exploded, and Curious noticed far too late just how high up she was. Crap. Hawk sent out a few more feathers, only to wince as Curious impacted the ground quite brutally. he sighed, retracting the feathers as he looked at the bloody mess. Geez, reporters only focused on what they want to focus on. No wonder underground heroes don't like them. X. Himeko paused in the middle of her talk, looking up as though something has just occurred. Is everything all right, Toga-san? Dr. Kajima asked. I just got the weirdest sense of deja vu. X. Redestro grunted as another punch from All Might sent him back. So the commission sent their poster boy after us. How typical. The man grunted. The commission had nothing to do with this. All Might growled. The president doesn't even know what's going on. This was all the diet. No matter. Redestro snarled. I will bury you in the dirt regardless. Those who defy the will of Destro must be exterminated. I'm guessing you're the exception then. Yatsubashi paused, about to go on a lecture. He narrowed his eyes at All Might. I beg your pardon. I've read Destro's book. An original copy, not one of those edited versions you sent out recently. In it, he explicitly stated, several times in fact, that his own mother was quirkless, but that he loved her dearly. In fact, for all the bad he did, he had nothing against the quirkless at all, and wanted to leave them in peace, a far cry from the horrible abuse your army has inflicted on them in the modern day. Redestro ground his teeth. The black energy. Get with the times, All Might. The quirkless are a dying breed. They have no place in this world of metahumans. They must be shown their place. They must be ground into the dirt. There was a boy at the Alder indoctrination facility you people had shut down. A stupid child without a meta ability who desired to be a hero of all things. We worked for years to break his spirit, only for him to suddenly transfer out of the prefecture recently. All that hard work gone. He froze as All Might leveled a glare at him, laced with killing intent that would put the hero killer to shame. No matter how you word it, just admit the truth, Yatsubashi. The number one responded lowly. You're just twisting your ancestors' ideals for your own selfish desires. I have a feeling that if Destro were here, he would be disgusted at what you've turned his army into. Don't you dare speak on Destro's behalf! Redestro roared. 100% liberation. The behemoth charged at All Might landed onto the. So this is the absolute. Yes, this is the true power of liberty. I guess I was worried for nothing then. Yatsubashi blinked, then his eyes widened in realization as All Might charged at him. Fuck, was all he got to get out before a flurry of fists struck him. He dug his heels into the ground, doing his best to outlast the symbol of peace, but it was all for naught as the man reared back. Detroit. All Might threw himself forward, slamming his fist into Redestro's jaw, the large-nosed man seeing stars as he was sent flying into the remains of his tower. Smash! A large explosion of dust alerted most of the fighters to the scene, and it didn't take long for most of the MLA to realize that not only was All Might on the scene, but he had taken down their. Most of the MLA soldiers promptly or tried anyway. A battalion of fighters led by Trumpet quickly went up in flames once Endeavor had cooled down enough. All in all, it was the final end of the meta liberation. 10th any word on what happened again. All Might, the man said. A group of soldiers and pros had cornered him outside of the nearest city, but lightning. Our analysts think it was some kind of weather control quirk, a pretty powerful one too. Anyway, Gettin escaped. We have him listed pretty high on the country's most wanted database, so hopefully we'll catch him before too long, and whoever saved him. We can't find any instances of Weher controlling quirks in the MLA. If you need my thank you. A few days back, Hugo was seething big surprise. A few days ago, everything he had ever known had gone to shit. The police and a bunch of pros had stormed in and arrested all the staff, who turned out to be a bunch of stupid terrorists. Now, logically, someone might think that Bakugo was pissed off at the realization that all of the violent and quirkiest behavior Alder had instilled into him over the years was a part of some sort of indoctrination thing, that he would immediately try to make amends with Izuku once he realized he was just a pawn. Then they would remember that this was Katsuki Bakugo. They just wanted me to be some goddamn pawn for their big-nosed leader, he seethed internally. Those idiots didn't care about my greatness at all. They wanted to fucking destroy Hero Society. Fat fucking chance. I'm gonna be the number one, and I'm gonna crush that useless Deku beneath my heel, and then I'm gonna visit that big-nosed Velvet Room ripoff in prison and kick his ass myself, Bakugo growled. He turned on the TV. Apparently, All Might had called for a press conference and had a big announcement to make. He was one of the heroes who took down that damn MLA. Maybe he finally recognized Bakugo's strength and wanted to take the future number one under his belt. He turned into act nervous. Toshinori asked. I've just never been used to these kinds of it's different from saving. Indeed it is, but such is the price of being a limelight hero. He clapped the boy on the you'll do great. Just wait. He buffed Yupan and proceeded to make X. All Might. He gave the signal. I have an important announcement to make, so I ask that you save all questions until then. As you all may be well aware, a few days ago, me and my fellow top 3 heroes took part in a military operation to bring down a resurgent Meta Liberation Army. During that time, many schools across the country, which were revealed to in fact be indoctrination centers for the MLA, and they were promptly shut down, their staff arrested for the horrible, quirkiest abuse they had been inflicting upon the children in their care. I know for a fact my dear friend, Principal Nedzu of UA, had quite a lot of fun reducing some of those buildings to rubble. The crowd had shuddered. It was during the investigations into these indoctrination centers that I met a brilliant young man. He reminded me a lot of myself when I was young, a heroic spirit and the desire to help those at all costs. When I discovered the boy had a quirk quite similar to my own, I knew it had to be fate. His smile brightened. It is with great pleasure that I wish to introduce Izuku Midoriya, my new apprentice. The crowd promptly went wild as the green-haired boy stepped out to the flashing cameras. Hi, everyone. I'm not much for speeches, so I'll just say I'll do my best to live up to this honorable position. 10th, holy shit. Imara-sen exclaimed as she watched the report. Way to go, Midoriya. Hanako. The spider girl groaned as her mother's voice carried down the stairs. I asked you to bring your laundry up an hour ago. It'll get brought up when it gets fucking brought up. Hanako snapped, knowing it would probably lead to another fight. Tensei stared at the screen as All Might announced Midoriya as his new apprentice. Nice 10th, I'm so happy for you, Izuku. Achako cheered. Izuku, her father teased. On a first-name basis, Achako X. Izuku Yukulu. Inko wailed, I'm so proud of you. My baby exclamation. Iri and Hisashi just cheered as Inko flooded the house. Kota stared at the TV for a few seconds, then huffed and walked away. While Katsuma's eyes were full of wonder as he watched the press conference. Look, Mahoro, All Might has a new apprentice. The girl desperately tried to find the remote and change the channel. While Melissa gleamed. So this is Uncle Might's apprentice. He does have a similar vibe to him. She clapped her hands together. I can't wait to meet him. Damn it, Katsuki. Calm the hell down right now, exclamation. I'll kill him. I'll fucking kill him, exclamation. I'm gonna wring his scrawny little neck, exclamation. Masaru, bring Dude, is that Deku? Fingers asked. We need to call the police and tell them. Nope, Tsubasa swiped. I've already been yelled at. Mr. Rappa, please lay down, but I want to fight Greenie. I know where he is, so it's fine. Mirko, for God's sakes. Sit back down, exclamation. Yukio snapped as she tried to force the rabbit hero into her seat. But I want to fight Greenie. I know where he is, so it's fine. Someone get Hawks on the phone. 10th Red Eyes stared at the screen as their owner looked deep in thought. So he was chosen by All Might himself. Then there is no doubt that boy will be a true hero. As Himeko stared at the TV, her being allowed a couple of hours per day during her time here, one thought crossed her mind as she took in All Might's apprentice. Oh my God, he could have killed me if he wanted. Tenya chopped his arm as he stared at the screen. I can understand why he wished to keep it secret. Being the apprentice of All Might is sure to attract attention. Suyu stared blankly at the screen as she played with her siblings. Satoshi sighed as he watched the news feed on his phone. Honestly, at least it's him and not some jackass with a strength quirk. Oi, villain! Where the hell are you? Hitoshi winced as his foster father's voice cut through the air. Tenta, Aizawa asked. No. Yu clutched her hair as she watched the screen. Him, why him? He's the one who got her killed. Tenthi was mocking him. All Might was mocking him, an apprentice. After all the hard work he put into his masterpiece, this was a grave insult. No matter. If All Might wanted to play this game, then Inji Todoroki would play to win. With conviction, he shoved open the door and glared at the button. From now on, main content archive of our own beta works tip Sherlock Act entire work previous chat work rating colon.
As long as there's a little bit, and not in the way I actually put some of that stuff in here.
Chapter 21, The Fall. Notes, see the end of the chapter text. Endeavor grunted, sending another gout of flames at Getten as he clutched at the bleeding hole in his side. Despite his best efforts, the quite frankly infuriating Iceman has managed.
Okay, that's intended for me. I know I accidentally put too much excellent comments on the choice.
All for one mused as he watched the press conference. He could hear Tamura throwing a fit over it on the other side of the microphone. After a few, Tamura, yes, Sense, the raspy voice, I have a theory. Of course, Sense, the raspy voice called after a few seconds. I have a theory. I do hope you'll be willing to hear it. Of course, Sensei. Anything for you.
Okay, let's get to it actually, because I actually need to type more of this shit down. Because apparently, I just need to type that one thing twice, apparently. That most. Uh, uh. Oh, wait, that's right. You missed me. I need. Time. Watch YouTube. Wait, what? No? Okay. Yes? I don't know yet. I gotta check that out. No? Okay. Okay. Okay, guys, I need to know what the fuck I did wrong with this. Oh yeah, guys. Yeah. If you don't mind, I need to do something. I need to make sure you guys are actually in the me see, I need to actually get this. Me see, I need to. There it is. Mm-hmm. Okay, now I can actually you guys see again. There. $23. Okay. Hey, that's 24, right? Yes. Okay. Mm. 5. Okay. Okay, now let's continue this. I'm thirsty anyway.
You know, I don't think we thought this out very well. Izuku muttered as he took note of the crowd of reporters outside of the school gates. Some of them had decided to eat lunch in class due to other students hounding Izuku. AI had even come from her own class due to her classmates still not really liking her. Currently, Nedzu was working on getting the press to leave Izuku alone, but for now he would have to contend with it. They tried forcing me into an interview when I got here. Achako sighed, taking a bite of the onigiri AI had made her. The teachers had to come out and threaten to call the police if they kept harassing students. Well, they can't legally interview us anyway. We're minors, so we have to have a parent or teacher present. AI mused. No one cares, Hirako. Hanako huffed. That's not my name. Remind me why you're even here. Can you two please just try to get along? Ochako sighed. Izuku, please say something. Before Izuku could even open his mouth, mostly to express confusion at the fact that she was suddenly calling him by his first name, Hanako was in Ochako's face. Oh, first name basis now. Hanako asked Riley. Ochako went red. That's not. You come on your raka. Spill the beans. Yu-san, help. One of Yu-san's tentacles whipped out, shoving a piece of sushi into Hanako's mouth. The spider girl chewed thoughtfully. Not bad. And then the spice hit. Ava! Oh God! Oh God, it burns! Exclamation. Hanako screamed, grabbing Ai's currently untouched strawberry milk and downing the whole thing. Hanako panted, face red from the heat of the ghost peppers Yu-san had stuffed into her sushi. Pussy. Yu-san stated, shoving a piece of spicy sushi into her own mouth. Hanako had called in sick the next day. Apparently, the spicy sushi had hurt worse coming out than it did going in. So. Those reporters that had been stalking Midoriya these past few days just looked at their phones and bolted. Hanako spoke up during a free period of homeroom. That must have been Nezu then. Izuku replied. He's good at digging up dirt. Then out of nowhere, the school's intercom system came on. The intercom shut off, leaving the class both dumbfounded and a bit freaked out. How did he get into the school's intercom system? Futakuchi-sensei panicked. It's Nezu. Best not to question it. Izuku merely shrugged in reply. Izuku jolted awake as Eri barged into his room, an expression of terror on her face as she hugged him. Eri, what's wrong? I had a horrible dream. What happened? Kakin was on a date. Izuku blinked, dumbfounded. I don't see how this so. With Megumin from Konosuba. Izuku promptly pulled her onto the bed and started stroking her hair comfortingly. I'm so sorry you had to witness that. Izuku soothed. Izuku was on edge. How couldn't he be? There was an HPSC representative sitting in his living room. Inko and Hisashi sat next to Izuku while Eri was upstairs playing, blissfully unaware of what was going on in the living room. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. The representative, Terogami, which Izuku was positive was a fake name, spoke up. The Heroes Public Safety Commission has some important matters to discuss with the Midori family. You're here for Eri. Izuku stated bluntly, not even bothering to hide the edge in his voice. The commission wants to buy her or something so they can make use of her quirk. Now, young man, you're making this sound a lot harsher than it really is. The commission simply wishes to take young Eri into protective custody due to the dangerous nature of her quirk. If you would just... You're not taking her. Izuku snapped. You wasted your time coming here. The man narrowed his eyes at Izuku. I believe that is a matter to discuss with the heads of the household, and I believe that our son has already made our stance quite clear. Hisashi let out a puff of smoke involuntarily. Get out of our house. Gaimai glared as he stood. I don't think you quite understand the position you're in. The commission can make it very difficult for your son to become a hero. Izuku just laughed. Good one. Not only am I All Might's apprentice, but I have Nezu in my corner too. Anything you try against me will only backfire on you horribly. The man glared at the family before stomping out of the house in anger. About a minute later, Eri toddled down the stairs. Papa, Mama, I'm hungry. Inko clapped her hands, glad for the change in subject. Who wants Katsuden? 10th, we need to move this truck. Tsuyu pointed out bluntly as she and Izuku observed the offending hunk of metal that sat on Takoba's sands. I'm still trying to figure out how a truck got here in the first place. Izuku sighed. I guess it doesn't matter in the long run. Kiro, it should be easy for a time traveler like you to move. Izuku started to move forward, then stumbled and did a double take. How did you know I was a time traveler? Because you just told me, Kiro. Izuku blinked as he processed the blank-faced frog's words. I can't believe I just fell for that. Honestly, though, I let you call me Tsu-chan from the beginning because you seemed like a really nice guy. Tsuyu put her finger to her chin as she spoke. Then I noticed how you seem to know all of us more than you should have, Kiro, Ochako-chan being the exception, of course, since you go to school together. Then there was the fact that you somehow knew Satsuki and Samura's names even though I had never told you. I settled on either time traveler or creepy stalker. Kiro, then I heard you talking with Achako-chan last week about your sister's quirk and it just kind of clicked. Kiro, please don't tell anyone. It's all right. I'm good at keeping secrets, Kiro. I just wanted to be sure. As they turned back to the truck, Izuku had a fleeting thought. Not to self, do not underestimate the frog. The frog can be scary when she wants to be dot. Ten Shinso-kun, you seem oddly cheerful this week. Izuku pointed out as the two of them carried broken TV. I figured it out. If I pass the UA entrance exam, my foster parents will have no choice but to let me attend. They know about Nedzu, and they know if he gets curious, it'll get ugly for them. So I can pass the entrance exam, and they'll have no choice but to let me attend to save their own asses. You realize I have All Might backing me, right? I can just get your foster parents arrested and you move to a better home. Did not think of that. 10th Izuku chewed the takoyaki thoughtfully. Wow, AI, this is actually pretty good. AI squeaked, hiding her face. And no, it's not that good. I've never really been that good of a cook. The blue-haired girl stiffened as Izuku placed a hand on her shoulder. You really shouldn't be so hard on yourself. You're a fantastic cook. Okay. From his position, Izuku couldn't see that AI's face had turned bright red. 10th happy birthday exclamation. Izuku blinked, dumbfounded at the sight of his friends and classmates in his living room, which had been converted into a party space. Well, how did? I asked your mom when your birthday was, and it kind of went from there. Achako teased. Izuku was stunned. He couldn't really remember the last time he celebrated his birthday with more than just his parents. He was a few weeks away from his birthday in the original timeline when the whole time travel incident happened. Eri toddled up to him and held out a childish drawing of him holding her hand. I made you this. Izuku blinked, then laughed, bending down to pat her head. Thank you, Eri. I think this might be the best birthday present I've ever gotten. Hey, Hanako huffed. Don't discount me yet. Nope, sorry. The 5-year-old's presents are always automatically the best. Izuku laughed. Hanako thought about it, then shrugged. Fair. As Eri walked off to go see Mirio, AI suddenly shuffled up to him, shaking. AI, are you okay? Too many people. AI squeaked, pushing a box into his hands and immediately stumbling to where Achako was. Izuku had to admit, as worrisome as her social anxiety was, it was oddly endearing. Was this how Auntie Mitsuki felt when she first met Uncle Masar? 10th the school festival is coming up. Futakuchi-sensei told them as they neared the end of October. So you need to decide as a class what you're all going to do to participate. Ooh. Hanako jumped up in her seat. How about a restaurant? Our class hasn't done that before. The last 2 years we just did these boring plays. The whole class murmured as they took that into consideration. Then Hanako, Haji-san, immediately, think about it, AI. Izuku added in a comforting tone. If you're in the back cooking food, you won't have to talk to very many people. AI paused as she seemed to consider that. Yeah, me and Izuku can even be waiters if you want. Achako added in. Okay. All right then, if nobody has any issues, I guess we're doing a restaurant. Futakuchi-sensei spoke up. Now you all need to decide on your roles in the theme. You have until October 29th. 10th Izuku had to admit he was pretty excited for this Halloween since it would be the first time he could take Eri trick-or-treating. She had decided to go as some pre-quirk anime character and looked absolutely adorable in her costume. He hummed to himself as he opened his locker, only to blink and say, Did you get one? Izuku, why whoever wrote it, mine says, Achako, and mine. Achako looked at Izuku's, even the handwriting's the same. The gravity, did we both get? I thought I'd made it clear that I don't like you. Hanako seethed as she stared down AI. Look, I get that, but you're really the only person I can think of to help me with this. What would I possibly want to help you with? I need you to help me make romance happen. Hanako paused, her anger fading as she took AI's words. Go on. Chapter 23, There You Are, Bestie. AI chirped as she walked up to AI. So you know those letters you wrote for Midoriya and Uraraka that you were going to put in those lockers but then chickened out at the last minute? I went ahead and did that for you. AI blinked at her owlishly as absorbed eyes words. Then the panic. You AI practically. Don't worry, AI. Everything's going to be fine. I'm sure Midoriya and Uraraka will like you back. I can't do that. AI choked, beginning to hyperventilate. Hey. AI grabbed A. It's going to be all right. And no. AI saw time. Well, but X. This is the place. Don't know. Izuku shrugged. This is a first. Me too. Achako shifted awkwardly. Just try to wrap my head around. It does seem a bit out of nowhere, doesn't it? Izuku. Achako took a deep. Well, in the event that this goes south, I just want. A loud crash caught their attention as some AI? Achako gasped. Are you okay? Izuku. These are Yumara-san. Izuku. I remember her telling me they just. What? You were up there? 47. AI quietly. Izuku frowned. Why? She wasn't. She was all but. Izuku looked at the letter again, noting the hand. Don't tell me Yumara-san actually left her here. As much as AI Izuku. I did think that. The handwriting looked familiar. Achako mused with a little laugh. I sometimes saw those stories you were writing in AI. Achako stumbled back a. I'm AI. Yes, I wrote the letters, but I was too scared to send them. AI. Izuku pleaded. I didn't need A. I was too scared of being rejected again. B because I'm me exclamation. But then AI-chan got Yumara-san to help. AI trailed off, hiccuping as if you both made AI. You made me feel safe and cared for the first time since my mom died. I didn't want to let that go. As much as I didn't deserve it, I really like you too. In some small part, I was hoping there could be something more. When Eri was going around saying that the three of us were going to marry each other, I realized just what those feelings really were. Sorry, I never should have written those letters. All I did was your time and make you hate him. AI squeaked as, stop degrading yourself, AI. Izuku finally spoke up. You're a wonderful person, and you deserve happiness too. Yeah, all those people who told you you were worthless and stuff like that, they're the ones at fault. You didn't deserve all the suffering. Achako chimed in, the two of them pulling back. At first, and all those worries about us not returning your feelings. I know that in my case, at least, it's bullshit. Achako explained, rubbing the back of her head awkwardly. Truth is, I've actually had kind of a crush on you for a while now. At least since our second year of junior high. And then I started liking Izuku too around the time he saved you. I guess I'm a bit of a bisexual mess too, huh? She let out a small laugh as Izuku looked deep in thought. After a few tense seconds, he made up his mind. Hey, Achako, there's Izuku. I know this might seem. Achako gaped at him, shocked at this abrupt change of topic. I already knew, and I'll explain the full story to you later, but the short of it is, Eri got shot with a trigger bullet that made her quirk go berserk and sent us both back to the day of the sludge villain incident. I honestly didn't even know her quirk was capable of that. He chuckled awkwardly. But anyway, I never moved to Asahi in the original. During our time in the hero course, you became my best friend, and I started having feelings for you. But we went through so many hardships that I never really got the chance to tell you about those feelings before we got shot with that trigger. You actually seemed upset and hurt about something that day. I don't know what it was. You wouldn't tell anyone. I wanted to try and talk to you about it when I got back from taking Eri to the mall. Izuku sighed, realizing he was starting to ramble. I guess what I'm trying to say here is I really like you, Achako. And AI, you're one of the sweetest girls I've ever met, even if it's buried under so much fear and self-loathing. I honestly find it so hard not to like you, Izuku admitted. You're both really wonderful girls. Izuku. Achako began, louches, before something occurred to her. Wait, if you never moved here in the original timeline, then that means you never saved AI. Does that means that it doesn't matter anymore. Izuku spoke up. The three of us are here together now. We're here because AI found the courage to write those letters, even if someone else had to send them. I'm willing to make this work if you two are. The three of us, together. Yeah, me too. Achako smiled before they turned their gazes to AI. Achako helping her to her feet. So you don't have to worry about anything, AI, cause we both want this too. First, AI shook quietly, more tears brimming at her eyes. I love you both so much. I really don't know how else to put it. We love you too. Izuku answered. Achako reached over and cupped the girl's face, AI letting out a squeak as the gravity girl pulled her in, pressing their lips together. AI stiffened, then relaxed, melting in Achako's embrace. After a few seconds, they pulled apart, AI blinking in stunned disbelief. She turned Izuku, eyes wide as if hoping for more. The green-haired boy smiled, pulling her in and kissing her as well. His first kiss. And it was with one of the sweetest girls he ever had the pleasure of meeting. The two of them pulled apart, simply gazing at each other before Izuku turned his attention to Achako. The two of them smiled and moved in, locking lips with each other and finally sealing the relationship between the three of them. After Achako and Izuku pulled apart, the three of them stood in quiet peace. And then, after a moment, Ai smiled. It was something genuine and beautiful, and it made Izuku and Achako smile too. All right, mission accomplished. The three of them whirled around, seeing AI and Hanako rushing up to the group, the raven-haired quirkless girl holding a camera and filming the trio. "We're so happy for you guys." Hanako chirped, completely oblivious to the fact that two of them had just completely ruined the mood. "It's about time you three got together." Yep, AI chimed in. "Even if we did have to give you guys a little push. But don't worry. I got it all on video, so this moment is pretty much immortalized." Izuku and Achako shot the unlikely duo a pair of unamused glares. "10th, oh come on, Midoriya. This isn't cool." Hanako whined, struggling with the ropes as Izuku finished tying AI to the top branch of a nearby tree alongside her. The green-haired boy dusted off his hands before picking up Ai's camera and pulling out the hard drive containing the confession between the three of them. After all, it was a pretty tender moment, and they didn't want other people watching it like some kind of romantic drama. Also, Izuku was pretty sure they caught him confessing to the time travel, but were too obsessed with the romance to notice. "Yu-san is on her way to get you guys," Achako said as she put her phone away. "What?" AI whined, struggling futilely against her bindings. "But she moves so slowly. It'll take her at least an hour to get here from her house. She is to leave an hour early just to get to school on time." "That's the point," Izuku said. And with that, the newly born polycule made their way from the park, leaving the two romance-obsessed girls dangling from the tree. "Midoriya, you're a rocket. Haji, come on, the joke's over. Let us down, guys." Hanako whined. "You know Yumara-san is more than strong enough to break those ropes." Achako whispered to Izuku. "I know that, you know that." Izuku pointed a thumb at the two girls behind them. "They'll either figure it out themselves, or Yu-san will have to explain it. I really need to pee." AI whined. 10th Izuku sighed, a bright smile on his face as he lay down in bed. To think before the day was done, he would be leaving the park with two beautiful girlfriends. His parents seemed curious on what was making him so happy. He would explain tomorrow. Though he did notice her looking at him with bright, knowing eyes, kids were oddly very perceptive. Either way, despite the fact that his dad was leaving at the end of the week to return to his job, Izuku felt there was nothing that could spoil his good mood. Panic, fear, confusion, her awakened to speak how the hell Rethasa people. Izuku grabbed his head as intense pain shot through his skull, gritting his teeth as he felt himself being forced into the vestige realm of One for All. Forcing his eyes open, he saw a black mass at the center, the other vestiges pushed back to a safe distance as countless spirals of energy erupted from the mass. Nejira's vestige had gained consciousness, and she was terrified. As Hanako and AI remained tied up in the tree, waiting for Yu-san to show up as AI fidgeted uncomfortably with her full bladder, a girl with frizzy pink hair and pink skin suddenly rushed up, looking around wildly. Was there romance here? Mina demanded of the two girls. I could sense a new ship being born. Polycule, actually. Hanako explained. 3 of them. They left about half an hour ago. Dang it. Mina pouted, slouching as she turned and walked away. I paid 3,000 yen and risked breaking curfew for this. Hey, wait. Can you get us down from her and she's gone? AI sighed. Nice ass, though. Hanako mused as she watched the pink girl walk away. Chapter 24. Izuku grit his teeth as he tried to push through the barrage of energy spirals. He could see Nejira in the center of the black mass, her eyes shut right as she thrashed around, trying in vain to shake the mass off of her. Looking even close, Izuku could see that she was crying. Wincing as a spiral of energy grazed him, Izuku stumbled forward, placing his hands on Nejire's shoulders as he attempted to calm her. Senpai, Senpai Nejire, open your eyes. It's me, Midoriya, remember, from the Yakuza raid. Slowly, the blasts of energy died down as Nejire slowly opened her eyes, taking in the child with legally fluffy hair that was doing his best to calm her. It's okay, Senpai. You're not in any danger. Everything's okay. Nejire's eyes flitted to the other vestiges who were standing near the back of this strange void. Stranger danger. These people are my friends, Senpai. Izuku assured. They won't hurt you, I promise. Strange place. Izuku sighed. Senpai, at first I don't really know how else to tell you this, but we're inside my quirk. Confusion, Izuku sighed. It's a long and complicated story. I guess I should start by telling you that the real name of my quirk is One for All. From there, Izuku explained everything, how One for All came into being, how it made him the target of All for One. He introduced her to the vestiges before going on to explain her current predicament. After you died, Overhaul destroyed your body, and I accidentally swallowed some of your blood. Somehow it caused you to become integrated into my quirk. At some point, I'll most likely manifest your wave motion quirk. I honestly had no idea One for All was even capable of this. None of us did, he sighed. I'm so sorry, Senpai. You wouldn't even be stuck in this mess if it weren't for me. I had no idea all the things you were going through. First, I should have. Nejire lifted her hand, one of the few parts of her body not obscured in black mist, and laid it on his head. Izuku blinked owlishly at her as Nejire offered a comforting look. After a few moments, he smiled. You're too kind for this world, you know that, Senpai. Prided 10th Izuku blinked sitting up in his bed. His room was dark, and his clock said it was almost 3 in the morning. Knowing that everyone would want to know about this as soon as possible, he picked up his phone and texted the only person to be awake at this hour. Deku, Nejire's vestige is conscious. Racerhead, how was she? Deku, scared, confused. About what you'd expect from someone who woke up in a black void surrounded by strangers. Racerhead, are you able to speak to her? Deku, she can understand me, but she hasn't manifested to the point she can actually speak. I can sense her basic feelings, though. Racerhead, all right, keep us updated. Izuku looked up as the bedroom door opened, Eri walking in with a frown on her face. Eri, what's up? I had a really weird dream. Oh yeah? What about? Aine was the twin sister of Tomoko Kuroki from Watamote. Who let you watch Watamote? 10th Izuku stretched, taking in the sight of his Halloween costume in the mirror. He was wearing a black and green checkered haori with a black uniform underneath, with a fake katana strapped at his side. Oddly enough, the costume seemed strangely fitting. He turned and looked at her sitting on the couch, dressed as Kana Kamui with a fake tail and wig to match. Currently, she was sitting on the couch watching Sailor Moon. He heard a knock at the front door and went to answer it, finding Achako and Ai on the other side. Achako was dressed as Kanatsuyuri, while Ai was dressed as Nanachi. He suspected she picked the costume because it covered most of her face. Ai never really liked drawing attention to herself, looking away shyly. Izuku smiled and escorted his girlfriends into the house. Thank God they had that drainage system installed. It really came in handy when he told his mom he was dating the two girls. Debut girl. Izuku paused as the voiceless words entered his head. How, what do you mean, Nejire? Immediately, memories that weren't his own flashed through his mind, leaving Izuku with one thing to say. You were Mirko's debut girl. Ai let out a startled squeak. Wait, seriously? Achako beamed. That was really you? No wonder you admire Mirko so much. I was years ago. She's in the top 10 now. I doubt she even remembers me. Ai squeaked. Achako reached over and rubbed her back soothingly. Hey, don't freak out. We're not trying to make you uncomfortable. We just think it's really cool. Not many can claim to be the first person a hero saved, I guess. Achako gave their girlfriend a comforting smile before turning her attention to the couch. Oh my goodness! You look adorable, Eri. She cooed as she rushed over to the little girl. Izuku placed his hand comfortingly on Ai's shoulder, giving her a warm smile. Achako ni, I made Tomo Choco. That's Valentine's silly. Tenyu Mara-san, don't you think you're a bit old for trick-or-treating? a man asked. Never too old for free candy. Hanako cheered, causing the group of kids she was with to cheer as well. The man shrugged and passed out candy. X. Anyone seen Midoriya and Uraraka? The school festival's about to start. Hanako called. We're here. Achako called as she and Izuku walked in with Uri, who Izuku had brought along so she could have fun. The little girl had a candy apple in her hand, looking at it with a frown. What's up with Uri? Hanako asked. Well, I found her in the bathroom in some kind of trance. Then when I got her attention, she said she was playing hide and seek with some girl in the bathroom stall, but I couldn't find anyone else in the bathroom, Achako explained. How weird. You think it might have been some kind of quirk. Could be, but I don't know what jerk would prank sweet little Uri like that. Only Uri seemed to hear the faint giggle that echoed through the room. 10. Do you recommend anything in particular? Izuku's head shot up from his checkbook, startled by the overly familiar voice. Gyro-san. The short-haired girl eyed her waiter with suspicion, raising her earphone jacks threateningly as the sounds of his class's restaurant echoed around the two. How do you know my name? Gyro asked, narrowing her eyes at him. Mika Gyro. The musician. Those jacks on your ears look similar to her quirk, so I just assumed you two were related. After a few tense seconds, Kayoko lowered her jacks as she relaxed. Oh, yeah, Mika Gyro's my mom. We were passing through town after a recording session and decided to stop and check out this festival. I guess I just didn't expect to run into any of her fans. Izuku sighed. Thank God he had the foresight to listen to Gyro's parents' music. I especially like her song Graceheart. Izuku said to further cement his cover. Oh, yeah, I like that one too. So anyway, recommendations. Well, I'm kind of partial towards the catsuit. 10th, wait, I just realized. Achako said suddenly during lunch, Yuzumaru-san, where have you been living? At my house. But your parents are dead. The servants are taking care of me. She shrugged. And for some reason, they never froze my parents' debit cards, so I've just kind of been doing what I want. Servants don't care. I think they're just happy to have the real me back and not that. Anyway, I basically converted the Great Hall into a game room. I've spent so much time playing Death Stranding. Your parents owned a pharmaceutical company, right? Who's running it now? The board. Once I come of age, the company will be passed on to me. It's not like I want to take over, but she just shrugged. Didn't you want to be a teacher? I'll make both work. I mean, if pro heroes can be teachers, then it's not out of the realm of possibility. Hanako let out a tusk. Sure you can handle all the responsibility, princess. Oh, look, Discount Muffet has something to say. Izuku could swear he saw a vein pop in Yumara-san's forehead, which was weird because he knew she had an exoskeleton. Izuku laughed at the sight before him. He had managed to invite his Takoba friends over for a Christmas party, and they were actually getting along pretty well with his school friends. Uri and Satsuki Asui were pretty much best friends already. Somehow Yumara-san ended up in an argument with Ada over eggnog, which didn't surprise him nearly as much as it should have. He slowly pulled out his phone, texting his little surprise for the children to go ahead and come in. H-O-H-O-H-O. He couldn't help but smile as the children gasped in awe as a pair of figures burst into the room. Santa, Uri said with stars in her eyes as she turned to Izuku. Nah, chanted Santa. Yep, go say hi to him, Izuku said with a smile. Yes, I am. Gentle Santa, Santa explained. And this is my assistant, Leb Bravulf. We've come all the way from the North Pole ahead of time to give some special gifts to the little ones. Izuku could swear he saw Tabita's eye twitch a little, as the children, practically Bulrushes and Mazawa, saddled over Izuku. Explain. I promised I would get him help to become a hero if he did this. Well, after he regained consciousness, of course, you seriously managed to knock out the guy who's been giving the police trouble for months now. Oh yeah, funny story. 10th, are you growing out your hair? Achako asked as she finished tying AI's New Year's kimono. The blue-haired girl's formerly chin-length hair now reached her shoulders. I thought it would be a nice change of pace, AI said shyly. Achako smiled, wrapping her shoulders around AI and planting a kiss on her cheek. I think it looks nice, and I'm sure Izuku would agree. After a few moments, the green-haired boy walked in, and Achako pulled Ai up to show off the kimonos he had given them for Christmas. So Izuku, which of us looks best in a kimono? Eri, the boy said automatically. Why, Eri? Eri, the boy repeated, pointing to the stairs where he was coming down in an apple-red kimono and her hair tied up in a bun. Oh my goodness, Eri, you're adorable. Achako Kud basically blitzed over to the little girl. Happy Hanukkah. Eri cheered. Wrong holiday, sweetie. X. You know. Izuku pondered as the group made their way around the stall set up for New Year's. I never thought we'd get banned from a karaoke bar just for sheer bad singing. My singing wasn't that bad. Anako whined. Yumara-san, no offense, but some of us went temporarily deaf after you started singing. What? Achako called as she continued to pick at her ears. X. Izuku beamed as he looked over the now pristine beach. They had actually managed to get it done a month earlier than he had in the original timeline. So, Ada began. Can we expect to see each other at the UA entrance exam? Odd Izuku began. Actually, through some events that were pretty much out of my control, I learned some stuff about the entrance exam that would give me an unfair advantage. So Nezu is having me take the recommendation exam instead, he explained. What about you, Ada? Don't you come from a family of pros? Izuku had to admit he was curious why Ada never took the recommendation exam in the original timeline. The boy chopped his arms. That is true. However, I wish to become a hero on my own merit instead of coasting by my family's great name. That's pretty admirable. Shinso sidled over to Izuku. So about that information on the entrance exam. I'm pretty sure Ned's is keeping an eye on us. Sure enough, Shinso's phone buzzed with a text that made the insomniac go pale. Red God, all I can say is just try to be the very best hero you can be, Izuku said with a bright smile. 10th H here. Izuku was stunned as he opened the door to find Achako and Ai, the blue-haired girl, shoving a bag of homemade chocolate into his hand shyly. He knew it was Valentine's Day, but he had gone so long getting nothing but Tomo Choco from his mother that he just didn't come to expect anything else. We both worked together on it, Achako said brightly. Izuku smiled and invited them in, making a note to take them to the best restaurant he could find on White Day. X. Deku, are you sure you can't give me any hints for the exam? Eraserhead, problem child, I know you're stressed, but stop asking. Eraserhead, President Mike's in charge of that exam anyway. Deku, yeah, but you know he likes to blab. Eraserhead, do you want to spend your first week at UA in detention? Deku, fine, have it your way, sensei. Eraserhead, the hell's that supposed to mean? Eraserhead, Midoriya, Eraserhead, problem child. Call from unknown number. Aizawa blinked. Normally, he would never answer strange numbers, but something in his gut told him he should probably take this one. Hesitantly, he accepted the call. Hello, Eraser. Oh my God, it is you. I was kind of weary when All Might's apprentice called to give me your number, but now I'm glad. Now we can spend all day talking about marriage. Aizawa fell to his knees and shouted to the heavens. Problem child exclamation. 10th Izuku sighed, rubbing his eyes. The recommendation exam was in a couple of days, and since Izuku had no idea how different the written test was from the regular one he was spending his nights studying, he checked his clock. 2:34 a.m. He groaned, figuring he would grab a snack or something from a nearby conveni. He checked on Eri, smiling at her sleeping form, before he quietly made his way out of the house. One of the good things about living in Japan, convenience stores all over the place. He walked into the store, grabbing a coffee and some snacks. He was just walking back out of the store when someone called out to him. Midoriya. Izuku blinked, turning to see Hanako sitting on a nearby curb, a steaming cup of ramen in hand and a sushi bento by her side. Oh, Yumara-san! I wasn't expecting to see anyone else this late. The spider girl shrugged, slurping on her ramen. I'm actually more of a night owl, so I'm up this late a lot. I guess that explains why we don't see you much outside of school hours. Izuku sighed, sitting next to her and taking a drink of his coffee. What about you? Why are you up so late? Studying for the UA recommendation exam. Yeesh, I heard the regular exam's stressful enough, but the recommendation exam's basically hell. Yeah, not fun. Hanako sighed. You're lucky you know. You're rushing into your dream headlong, but I know something I want to do, but I don't think I can do it. I know it's not the kind of thing people will be proud of. Izuku blinked. She didn't seem to want to go into detail, but either way, he rested a hand on her shoulder. Don't be afraid to follow your dream, Yumara-san. I get that Japan is strict. People are expected to follow a certain path, but you should have the freedom to do what makes you happy. I'll support you, and I know AI and Achako will too. The spider girl smiled. Thanks, Midoriya. You're a good.
Give me a second. What? Okay, I've been saying. And then been back, so just wait. Yeah, let's continue.
Good friend. As the two of them sat there, talking, Hanako Imara's fate was set. In the original timeline, she'd never pluck up the courage to chase after her dream. Here, in this new timeline, with Izuku's encouragement, she would definitely search out the hero killer after graduation. The time has come to Miura. All for One grinned as he placed his hand on Shigaraki's forehead. This second quirk will be good training for when you eventually inherit All for One. It is called unassisted flight. As its name suggests, you will be able to fly around without the need of wings or any external aid. Thank you, Sensei. I'll make you proud. All for One grinned wickedly. But Tamura didn't need to know that this quirk once belonged to Hana Shimura, and that only made this so much more fun. Chapter 25, DAY of the UA Recommendation Exam : Izuku sighed as he looked up at the massive building. After having lived at the dorms for almost a year, you'd think he'd be used to walking through these gates. He sighed and made his way into the building, where some signs pointed him in the right direction. He found a table for signs ins and stopped in his tracks, frozen like a deer in headlights. "You okay there, kiddo?" Nimurikiyama Pro Hero Midnight asked in slight concern. "First, I'm okay." Izuku stammered as he continued to walk over to the teacher he and his classmates had lost in a previous timeline. "Just nerves, if you insist." "Name, Izuku Midoriya." "Oh, you're the one Shout is always complaining about," she said cheerfully. "All right, you're signed in. Just head down that hall. Signs will lead the way." Izuku shakily walked down the hall, the signs pointing him to a classroom where they would take the written portion. "Please sit anywhere." Ectoplasm greeted. "We'll begin as soon as everyone has arrived." Izuku took a seat near the back, taking a moment to glance around. He recognized Inasa, Takage, and Honuki. He figured he would take the time to check his phone, seeing he had a text from Achako. "Achako, so I was playing with Eri, and she was telling me about this weird dream she had." Izuku, which anime was it this time? Achako Demon Slayer. Achako, apparently in the dream, you and Tanjiro were hugging and crying about how you didn't want to fight each other. Achako, then Inazuke, and the Bakugo guy turned into T-Rexes and started fighting each other. Achako, who lets her watch this stuff? Izuku, I'll fill you in when I get back. He couldn't exactly fault Mina since it was her original timeline self that was pretty much responsible for his anime dreams. Besides, Izuku wasn't sure if the HPSC was monitoring his texts or something to try and dig up dirt on him, so he didn't want to mention anything related to time travel over the phone. Izuku suddenly stiffened as he felt an icy glare on him. Looking up, his own green eyes locked with a pair of cold, heterochromatic eyes from across the room. As he took in the cold hatred before him, Izuku realized something that brought him horror. In all the chaos Izuku had gone through to save Eri from Chisaki, he had completely forgotten about Todoroki's situation. "Please take a seat," Ectoplasm insisted. Todoroki promptly turned and plopped himself into a seat near the front. Izuku made a mental note to speak to Nezu as soon as possible. One by one, recommended children filed in until the door opened one final time and Momoye Urazu walked in, taking the last empty seat, which happened to be right next to Izuku. Well, this was awkward. Should he introduce himself, or the test will begin momentarily? Ectoplasm stated as one of his clones walked around the room, passing out papers and pencils. "You'll have 3 hours to complete it. If you should happen to finish before that time, do not panic. Simply go over your answers, and once you are satisfied, turn them in and await further instructions. You may begin." And with that, Izuku got to work. Surprisingly, the questions weren't all that hard, at least by Izuku's standards, and he ended up breezing through them, only really taking his time on the essay portions. In the end, he was the second person to turn in his exam after Yaoyorozu, which didn't really surprise him, as she was one of the highest-ranking students academically in the whole school in the original timeline. As he sat and waited, he couldn't help but notice her give him a couple of curious glances. Finally, when all of the students had turned in their exams, Ectoplasm had them all follow him to outside, eventually bringing them to a massive obstacle course where President Mike stood. "Hey there, listeners," the overly cheery cockatoo practically shouted. "We're about to do a fun little obstacle course. The dig, so here's how this is gonna work. We're gonna pair you up in groups of 2, and you guys are gonna race to the end. This is less about coming in first and more about how you actually manage to get through the course, so don't worry. Coming in second doesn't automatically disqualify you. Now I realize you listeners have just been stuck in chairs for the past few hours, so why don't you take a few minutes to stretch while we assign you numbers? As the group of kids began to work out the stiffness in their bodies, Izuku went through some routine stretches. "Excuse me." Izuku blinked owlishly as Inasa suddenly and loudly made his way over her. "Are you not All Might's apprentice?" Yes. I just love heroes so much. I was hoping you could tell me about what All Might is like." "Oh, well, he's pretty well-meaning and an all-around nice guy. He does have a tendency to loudly announce his presence when he enters the room." "Haha, sure sounds like our number one." And with that, Inasa went to go bother someone else. After a few moments, Momo quietly walked up to him. "I must admit, I was a bit weary that the symbol of Peace Apprentice would be a bit more volatile, especially after what was televised at that Yakuza raid, but you seem like a nice person. Sorry if I worried you. I'm just trying to be the best hero I can be." As for the Yakuza raid, let's just say that was pretty personal. Anyway, Yaoyorozu's right. Indeed, Momo Yaoyorozu. A pleasure. Izuku Midoriya. Let's give it out all, yeah. I would have nothing less. After a few minutes, President Mike began to assign the groups. To Izuku's surprise, he was pitted against Momo, while Todoroki was pitted against Inasa. Now, before we start, gotta lay some ground rules. K. First off, no sustained flight for more than 5 seconds, period. Gotta keep it fair for the others. Second, no sabotaging your opponents. Any questions? Yes, you. Green Bean? W. Izuku stammered, red-faced from the nickname. Excellent question. Basically, if we determine that you're deliberately hindering your opponent, whether it be from using your quirk or straight up attacking them, you'll be kicked out faster than you can say yeah. However, things that might not be deliberate, like maybe a leftover effect from your quirk, will not be considered sabotage. Be warned though, Neds will be reviewing the tapes very carefully, so don't even think about trying to sabotage them in a way that looks accidental. Any other questions? No? All right then, group 1 up. Oh, and Takich. FYI, due to the nature of your quirk, at least 75% of your body needs to pass through the finish line to be considered a finish. Izuku watched as the students charged the obstacle course in pairs of 2, their impressive showings of their quirks reminding him just why only 4 of them would be making it, and by recommendations. After all, it wouldn't be fair to the other 36 students otherwise. Finally, it was Izuku and Momo's turn, and the pair stood at the starting line. Luckily, since it took a few seconds to start up full cowling, President Mike allowed him to go ahead and started before the race began. Best of luck, Momo said kindly. You too. Begin. With that, the 2 were off, Izuku taking an easy lead with only 5%, though Momo wasn't doing too bad herself, having created a grappling hook to help scale the taller obstacles. Overall, it was actually pretty fun, he thought as he scaled the waterfall. Much more fun than the regular exam. Snap, Izuku's head whirled around, time slowing as he saw Momo suspended in midair, a look of shock and terror in her face as her grappling hook snapped. He planted his feet into the waterfall, black plashing out and latching around her waist. "Make an airbag," Izuku called as he yanked, sending Momo flying over the waterfall. Right before she hit the ground, an airbag burst out of her chest, softening her landing as she stumbled to her feet, startled. It took Izuku rushing past her to remember what she was doing as she began running again. She managed to cross the finish line a good half a minute after Izuku, after which he took the chance to talk to her. "Yaoyorozu-san, are you okay?" Izuku asked. "Yes, thank you for that, Midoriya," the girl panted. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't helped." That was stupid. They both froze, turning to see a pair of heterochromatic eyes staring at them. You shouldn't have wasted your own time trying to fix someone else's shortcomings. With that, Shoto turned and walked away, getting ready for his race against Inasa. Izuku turned and saw Momo looking down at the ground, hand on her chest. "Don't listen to him, Yaoyorozu-san. It wasn't your fault your grappling hook broke. Unexpected stuff like that happens all the time in heroics, and I don't regret helping you. Isn't that what we're here for?" to become heroes and help people. He gave her a kind smile. For what it's worth, I think you'll make an amazing hero. Thank you, Midoriya. That means a lot. As they watched Todoroki and Inasa's match, Izuku could help but think, if he wasn't there in the original timeline, then she most likely got hurt when her grappling hook broke. If she had been admitted even despite that fact, then it was no wonder she had so many confidence issues. As he watched Todoroki coldly brush off Inasa, Izuku made a mental note to do everything he could to help Todoroki and Yaoyorozu. The final part of the recommendation exam was a personal interview with Nedzu, which was how Izuku found himself sitting across the mammal of indeterminate origin with a cup of tea in hand. I do so enjoy our little talks, don't you, Midoriya-kun? The principal of I cackled. Nedzu, sir, I just remembered something. I'd completely forgotten about Shoto Todoroki's family situation. Endeavor bought his wife and subjected her to a quirk marriage so he could raise a child to surpass All Might. The training he's been subjecting Shoto to is straight-up abuse, and the horrible way he's been treating his family caused Shoto's mother to snap and pour boiling water on his face. I see. This is quite interesting. Do not blame yourself for forgetting Midoriya. With all the chaos this time travel has subjected you to, it's only natural something would sleep your mind. Even I'm guilty of forgetfulness from time to time. Unfortunately, there is nothing we can do regarding Endeavor at the moment. As the number 2 hero, I can see us raising against him going one of two ways. Can you guess what those are? I'm guessing the commission would probably shut us down. I doubt they're ignorant of the abuse. And if we did succeed, the number 2 being outed as an abuser would likely cause serious damage to society. Exactly. When school starts, we shall start working on ways to effectively fix this little problem. In the original timeline, after Endeavor became number 1 from All Might retiring, he started to become a better person and tried to atone for his sins. Then we shall go from there. Do not worry, Midoriya. We will do everything we can to fix this problem. Since there's nothing we can do at the moment, let's go ahead and discuss your practical exam. X. Izuku sighed as he sat on the train home. The talk with Nedzu had been slightly exhausting. The mammal loved to talk when tea was involved. He would be receiving an acceptance letter within the next couple of weeks, cause he knew he was probably going to get in regardless of how well he did. The sun was already beginning to set, and he wondered what his mom was making for dinner. Achako and AI had spent the day playing with Uri, so maybe they would be willing to stay over and eat. Danger sense flared. Izuku leapt from his seat, wide-eyed, as he narrowly avoided the hand reaching for his throat. Green eyes met red as Izuku stated down his would-be attacker. Shigaraki. Izuku stammered before he could stop himself. The red eyes widened slightly in surprise. You know my name, player 2. I guess Sensei's theory was right then. Shigaraki began scratching at his neck in agitation. You're playing on New Game Plus, aren't you? Hodo was annoyed. First, All Might's idiot apprentice was at the recommendation exam, and he was pretty sure the green-haired kid had already gotten the principal's favoritism. As if it wasn't enough, Shoto was sure he had a stalker. They had made no attempt to interact with him, but he knew he had seen the same guy over and over these past few weeks. He was pretty easy to remember, after all. Not everyone had skin grafts covering the majority of their face,
Okay, let's continue this.
Though Izuku looked calm on the outside, internally, he was panicking, watching the man-child as he aggressively scratched at his neck. Well, say something, will you, player two? You do have a dialogue box, right? I don't have telepathy, you know. All this new game plus bullshit. Now we have to rethink all of our plans and Tenko Shimura. Shigaraki paused, looking at Izuku suspiciously. What, that's your name? Tenko Shimura. No, it's not. Yes, it is. You just forgot. You're Nana Shimura's grandson. This just seemed to agitate Shigaraki even more. You're bringing that bitch up. Sensei's always complaining about her. Says she's just as bad as All Might. Oh, you don't like All Might? Izuku said as he held his phone behind his back, quickly sending out his location. I fucking hate All Might. Shigaraki snapped. Everywhere I go, it's All Might, All Might, All Might. Spreading all this false hope of peace and justice. It's pissing me off. Oh yeah, tell me more. And that fucking smile. It's the kind of smug-ass smile you just want to punch more than anything. Shigaraki paused, lowering his eyes down at Izuku. You're stuck. Black Whip launched out, wrapping around Shigaraki's hands. The older man pulled back, crashing out the train window as he pulled a surprised Izuku with him. In the chaos, Izuku accidentally released Black Whip as he floated in. You cannot. Shigaraki. Tenthought Shako looked at her phone curious. Did Izuku just the grab HM? He doesn't seem like the kind of person to do the kind of thing without reason. You don't think he's troubled before? There. Kurogiri spoke lowly. That's such a generic and cliche. Achako. Tamura came up with it. The mist man responded. Either way, I must sincerely sense it. Kurogiri. 10 civilians screamed as a pair of figures crashed. 10 Kurogiri promptly saw stars as she punched him in her panic. 10 civilians screamed as a pair of figures crashed through several buildings, raining debris upon the populace as Shigaraki was flung back. He doesn't care about you, Izuku shouted as he stared the man down. All for One doesn't care about you. He only cares about your body. He wants to take over your body and use it for himself. You're just another pawn to him. Shut up, Shigaraki shouted, decaying a nearby radio tower in frustration. Of course Sensei cares. He gave me this new quirk, didn't he? Your dialogue choices won't work on me, player two. He's been manipulating you all your life. You're not a successor to him, Tenko. He cares about no one but himself. Stop calling me Tenko. That Shigaraki roared as 10th if they got out of this alive. Achako seriously needed to. Then again, Eri had put on a bit of weight since she started getting fed better. Wait, why did not Achako? Before she had time to Achako, the little I've no courage as 10 Shig. Every time Izuku sent out Black Whip to try and detain him, the DK user nimbly dodged. Izuku honestly couldn't tell if it was the flight quirk or Shigaraki's natural agility, or both. Danger sense flared. Izuku looked up to find a hand the fingers made, and Shigaraki dropped like a lead weight. Izuku blinked. Next time, be more specific, problem child. Aizawa snapped, waving his phone at the green-haired child as he tightened the capture scope. We need to be careful. Izuku muttered. Right, Aizawa growled. Once we get him secure, I want to talk to him. Against all odds, Shigaraki managed to free one of his hands, moving so swiftly that Izuku didn't have any time to react before his hand found Izuku's throat. The only thing, as Izuku struggled, dark brown eyes snapped open for the first. No Tenko exclamation. Shigaraki recoiled, clutching his head before he saw. Aizawa had blinked and was unable to reactivate his quirk before the liquid. Shigaraki coughed out the horrible-tasting liquid, pushing himself up as he found himself in a dark room. Master, why did you bring me back here? I could have killed that player too. I do not wish him killed, Tamura. All for One spoke. Not yet, at least. Not until I have taken one for all from him. Shigaraki looked around the room. What the hell is wrong with Kurogiri? The man, and no, the mist. That isn't my name. Who are you? The mist man was silenced. Doctor. The faceless, this 10th Shako panted, cradling. She had ended up breaking her right hand, pulling the little girl from the mist guy, but honestly, holding. Hana was scared and confused as she looked around the dark. The last thing she remembered, she spotted a figure standing silently in the distance. Though he was older, she Tank chap, this is Detective Tsukachi interviewing Achako Uraraka over an incident involving a villain known as Kurogiri earlier today. Are AI and I in trouble? Did either of you use a quirk to fight off the villain? No, I considered using my quirk on Uri at one point to make her easier to carry, but I never got the chance to. AI did punch the villain at one point, knocked him out for a good few minutes, but she's quirkless. Since neither of you used a quirk, neither of you can be charged with vigilantism, so you're both fine. Wait, you're just gonna take my word for it. My quirk is called Lie Detector. Is the name Oh, yes, Hina Horimoto. She's actually been in here more than a few times because her quirk caused her to admit guilt for crime. Wow, it is what it is. We had taken Uri to the park to play since Izuku was out of town for the UA recommendation exam. Out of nowhere, both me and AI got a text from him showing his location and nothing else. We figured Izuku wasn't the kind of person to do that without reason. Then out of nowhere, the purple mist appeared, and this Kurogiri guy came out saying he was with this league of villains and that someone called Sensei wanted to see her. When he tried to take her, Aoi punched him, as I said before. I guess he does have a physical body, cause, like I said, she knocked him out for a good few minutes. We ran, but then he caught up to us and ripped Uri. Achako paused to take. Anyway, while Uri's quirk, weird how. He started saying things like what happened to my body and what happened to my quirk. He wasn't acting all refined and stuff like he was a few minutes ago. Then he started saying his name was Abro Shirakumo and asking about ice. Well, then he started puking. I see, thank you for your time, Uraraka-san. Ectoplasm is outside the room to take you to Recovery Girl to fix. Uraraka-san is currently asleep in Recovery Girl's infirmary. The healing took what little energy she had left. Given this incident, we finally had just cause to search the bar Midoriya had told us about. Unfortunately, by the time the police got there, it was already empty, though the officers did note it looked as though the place has been lived in recently. God damn it. Izuku snapped. Why target Iri though? All Might mused. Isn't it obvious, Tashinori? Gran Torino huffed. The girl has the power to rewind any organic thing in the world. If All For One got his hands on that quirk, he could make himself biologically immortal. He would have no need for a successor. Let us be thankful this attack was thwarted. However, because of this incident, we now know that any future plans regarding Midoriya's knowledge are now useless. We can't afford to take any chances with the two Midoriya children's safety. We'll be going forward with an idea I've had brewing for a while. Let me guess. Aizawa began beyond pissed after hearing Achako's account of what had happened. Student dorms. That is correct. Nezu answered. Until such time that we can move the two into campus where they'll be safest, I'll contract some pro-heroes to guard their house. Unfortunately, Midoriya, this also means that neither you or Uri will be allowed to leave your home without a bodyguard. That's fine. I'm honestly more concerned for Uri, though. As if on cue, the little girl toddled up, tugging on Izuku's sleeve. Can I watch TV? She asked, pointing to a TV on the other end of the room. Of course. Neji chirped, sliding the remote over to her. Uri took it and went back to the TV. She seems oddly calm for someone who almost got kidnapped. Night Eye spoke up. Oh, trust me, Midoriya spent over 2 hours calming her down after she got here. Besides, given that she's been held captive by Overhaul, I'd say she's probably quite used to experiencing traumatizing scenarios, Neju explained. In the back, Uri had managed to turn on the TV. Tsuda mode. Izuku suddenly shot up, snatched the remote, and proceeded to change the channel. Let's find something more in your age group. Tilda Kelwish. Okay, here we go. Looks like some kind of magical girl anime, Izuku said as he went and sat back down. In all seriousness, though, wouldn't people question the decision to abruptly make UA a boarding school right before the new school year? Most of them would likely just chalk it up to Nezu being Nezu. Aizawa sighed. Indeed, it's getting late. Aizawa will accompany you home and will stand guard for the night. I'll see about getting some heroes to change up their routes. I doubt you'd want Mirko and her new sidekick challenging you at every opportunity. Wait, Mirko has a sidekick? Izuku asked in confusion. She's notorious for her refusal to work with others if she can help it. Who would she take on as a sidekick? 10th, meanwhile, Mr. Rappy, you can't keep punching the villains after they lose consciousness. The police officer sighed in exasperation. Why the hell not? 10th, I regret asking. Izuku deadpanned. Nai-chan. Reese suddenly cried. Mommy Tomo just got her head bitten off. Oh, come on! Exclamation. 10th, we're now cutting to footage taken earlier in the day, in which Izuku Midoriya, apprentice to the #1 hero, All Might, was shown in an aerial battle with an unknown villain. Witness accounts state that. Shatter, damn it, Katsuki. That was my good China. 10th AI, sweetie, it's late. I'm sure Futakucha-san will understand you staying the night. Inko spoke. Izuku, AI, and Ozawa had just dropped the sleeping Achako off at her apartment, and AI had helped carry the equally sleepy Yuri back to the Midoriya house. I don't want to be a burden. Nonsense, sweetie. You couldn't possibly be a burden. Inko reassured, lifting the sleeping child into her arms. Let me put her to bed, and then I'll call Futakucha-san. Did you kid? We stopped and got some food after we got back in town, Aizawa assured. I need to start my patrol, but I'll need to talk to you about something when Problem Child gets his results for the recommendation exam. With that, he turned and vanished into the night. Izuku, sweetie, why don't you help Aoi get settled in? There's some spare clothes in the closet. Inko stated. Izuku led Ai to the hall, opening the closet door to find 2 pairs of spare clothes neatly set on the weird. It's like she anticipated. Izuku mused, grabbed 10th odd detective, how can I help you? Nedzu stated as he picked up the phone. There was a heavy sigh on the other end. We went to secure the Ayama. Ah, yeah, they are gone, Nedzu. The house, I see. Nedzu said solemnly. There was a layer of dust on most of the stuff. This happened a while ago. I see. All for One must have acted when he first deduced Midoriya was a time traveler then. Nedzu sighed. Thank you, Tsukauchi. We'll have to start planning more accordingly. Nedzu hung up the phone and after a few seconds hurled a throwing knife at the wall and barely restrained frustration. 10th, Izuku opened his eyes blearily, taking in the morning sun. He felt oddly cozy this morning, but for some reason there was a wet spot on his shirt. Oh, Ai was drooling in her sleep, that's why. Wait. Izuku's face turned crimson as he looked down to see one of his girlfriends snuggled up to him. When did they even fall asleep? At least he could take solace in the fact that they were both fully clothed. Ai shifted in her sleep, nuzzling the crook of Izuku's neck. He promptly turned even redder. Cuteness. Not helping Nejire. 10th, it took a bit, but Izuku had managed to gently maneuver out of the bed without waking Ai, planting a soft kiss on her forehead before going downstairs. He found her sitting in front of the TV in her pajamas and eating a bowl of Calbee cereal. Morning, Yuri. How'd you sleep last night? I had a dream last night, Yuri said as she stared at the TV. I can't decide whether it was scary or weird. What was it about? Renee Ayuga was singing a duet about cheese with a Colonel Sanders statue, and also ripping her throat out with her bare hands. There were lots of maggots. 10th, in another city, a girl with pink skin and hair suddenly shot up in her bed. Why do I feel like I'm about to get my skull caved in by an enraged green rabbit? 10, good to know. Izuku said, his eye twitching as he poured himself some coffee. I was going to wake you up last night, but you and Aoni looked too cute. Izuku promptly spilled hot coffee on his hand. Adorableness. Not helping Nejire. There was a night I slept all she yawned. I think you, Izuku, are you sure? I think I've put on a few pounds since your mom invites me over for dinner a lot. Achako, you could look a sumo wrestler and I wouldn't care. You're beautiful just the way you are. It was at that point Ai wandered downstairs. You're like a soft, cuddly pillow. Ai yawned. Izuku and Achako blinked. Apparently, Ai was a lot less shy about things when her brain was only functioning at half capacity, so yesterday was pretty stressful. Izuku began. You two shouldn't have gotten caught up in it. It's fine, Achako assured. Not your fault. And the most serious injury was me getting a broken hand, which recovery girl fixed up. Still, let me at least make it up to you, Izuku said with a smile. How about the 3 of date night? It's morning, Nejire. Last time we went out on a date, you ended up beating Gentle Criminal unconscious with ramen cups. Achako mused. Don't worry. He and Labrov are undergoing rehabilitation, so no ramen cup beatings today. Hopefully. I just need to inform Nedzu. After yesterday's incident, he doesn't want me in a hurry leaving the house without an escort. Sounds good. And yeah, I could use a date. What about you, AI? AI, glancing at her shoulder, Achako could see the blue. She's so cute. Achako smiled. Can I go on? Yuri asked innocently. Yuri, sweetie, we've been over this. Izuku began. You can go on dates when you turn 30s and only after I give him/her/them my approval. Okay, Night-chan. Izuku pulled out his phone to text Netsu, only TL4 and 9. Yuri jumped up and, oh, it's you. She greeted cheerfully. Netsu sent me. Asked me to escort you and your girlfriends on your date. Izuku sighed, hanging his head. I want to be surprised, but it's Netsu. Okay, we'll get ready, and here's to a nice, peaceful day, right? 10th, I'm just saying. You seem to naturally be good with kids. Achako laughed, taking a sip of her hot chocolate. The three of them were seated at a cafe in the town's shopping district. Midnight was nearby. Not close enough to intrude on their date, but close enough to jump in if needed. Like Yuri, she absolutely adores you. And remember how Tsuchan's siblings were all over you at the Christmas party. Izuku rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. I wouldn't say I'm that good. I just try to be someone kids can look up to. You don't even have to try. You're just that good a person. Hachako smiled. AI silently nodded, taking sips of her own hot chocolate. This is nice. Izuku. He got to spend the day peacefully with his girl. There was attention all shoppers, the intercom. We have a missing little boy on the prem. About 5 years old with short black hair, wearing a white button-up shirt, blue shorts, and a red hat with gold. If you see him, please report him either to the help desk. So this is my life. Had pets not helping. Shoto stopped, clenching his fist. Come out now. I know you've been following me. There was a few seconds of silence before a man with heavy skin grafts across his body stepped out. A perceptive one, aren't you? Guess the old bastard's training did something. The air grew colder. Who are you? Why have you been stalking me these past few months? The man said, you'll learn my real name when you agree to my little offer. For now, just call me Dabai. I need to talk to Chapter Mandalay. Midnight began as she, along with Izuku and his girlfriends, the missing boy, he's your Mandalay side, running. Ever since Kota's parents died, people have been telling him how heroic they were for sacrificing their lives and stuff like. Izuku looked. I'm going to look for him. Wait, kid. Midnight tried. Tense. Dabai asked, radiating a very unpleasant aura. How do you know about that? Shoto asked. Because I've been watching you for a pretty long time, Shoto. Dabai let out a laugh. I know everything there is to know about you. How the bastard ramped up your training because All Might got himself a new toy. How your favorite meal is cold soba. How you got that scar. A blast of blue fire nullified the ice sent his way. Now don't be like that. Aren't we birds of a feather? He gestured to his face. Are you saying those skin grafts are from burn injuries? What, can your body not handle your own quirk? I had a brother who was just like that. Ah, yes. His name was Toya Wright. Shoto, being as socially inept as he was, did not pick up on the bitterness and frustration. I don't really get on with it. Shoto snapped. You said you had. I want you to join me. Shoto froze. What? Think about it. Dabai said. Join me. Walk the path of a villain, and we can kill that flaming bastard together. Why do you care? ECH. Dabai grimaced. Let's just say that you aren't the only one that bastard screwed over. What, did Endeavor give you those scars? In a sense. So you with me or not? Dabai sighed. Fine, I can see you're on the fence. I use burner phones, so give me your number and we'll talk later. Tenth small person. Izuku's head snapped down a nearby alleyway. Squinting, he could indeed make out a small figure with a red hat huddled nearby. How did Nejire see him first, though? Cuteness detector. Izuku rolled his eyes and walked into the alleyway, kneeling beside the young boy. My name. You know Mandalay is really worried about you. Do you? Want to talk about what's wrong, or? Izuku was promptly silenced, all the air leaving his lungs as a tiny fist struck him in a very tender place. Rafamao not helping Nejire exclamation as Izuku writhed on the ground in pain. He could see Kota running towards the mouth of the alley. Banjo, help. On it, the tendril of Black Whip shot out of Izuku's shoulders, snaring the young boy around the waist and yanking him back towards Izuku, who was shakily getting to his feet. Let me go, the boy shouted, only for a tendril of black whip to cover his mouth before people could hear and get the wrong idea. Even though anyone who looked down the alley at this moment would still get the wrong idea, look, Kota, I heard about the water hoses. If anything, that seemed to make the boy angrier. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Kota stopped struggling, looking at Izuku in disbelief, as if this were the first time anyone had told him something other than your parents died heroes. Carefully, Izuku released Blackwhip's hold. You're just a child. It's not fair that you lost your parents at such a young age. And people going around basically telling you it's a good thing they died. What do you know? Izuku gave. First I lost curiosity. She was so bright and cheerful and curious about almost everything she laid eyes on. She died in Yakuza raid. The day after, I saw a reporter discounting her work. Izuku sighed. She had the potential to be a fantastic hero, but more than that, she was a human being. When I was glad. Huggles, the point is you're not alone, Kota. We've all lost someone. He placed a hand on, and I'm sure that wherever your mom and dad are now, they're still watching over you. Mama, Izuku gave a sad smile. He made a mental note to call Ned's when he got home. Perhaps it was time to talk to Yu Heiya and the Hado family. 10th Kota. Mandalay cried as Izuku led the boy over to her. The boy remained silent as she fussed over him. Mandalay, Izuku said, getting the heroine's attention. I know it's not my business how you raise Kota, but you have to think about this from his perspective. Everyone is basically going around telling him that it's a good thing his parents died. You need to realize that can seriously mess up at first. I see. Thank you, I'll think about that. Mandalay nodded. All right. Midnight sighed. Now that that's over and done with, why don't we? A loud crash and show me your blood. A crazed blond man shouted. Kota huddled back. Nope, not doing this. Izuku snapped. You sacrificing yourself, Greenie. Don't worry, I'll hey, the hell are you? No, stop. Wait, someone help, please, exclamation. I just. Wham, want one. Crash, peaceful day. Bang, to spend with my girlfriends. Crunch is the TOO much to ask. Just one fucking day. Not gonna lie. Achako whispered AI. This is actually kinda hot. AI gave a quiet nod. Near the back, Kota had stars in his eyes as he watched his parents' killer get the ever-loving shit beat out of him. Tense Shoto was confused. He couldn't exactly pin Dabai. Something about the man seemed familiar, and yet, looking into his eyes, Shoto only saw obsession and hatred. He had given the man his phone number and had sworn not to speak of their meeting, but Shoto knew as he walked into his family's courtyard the man made a very tempting offer. 10th, well, today was kinda hectic around the middle of it, but it was fun. Achako said as they walked home. Let's do it again sometime. Hopefully without the missing children and villain attacks. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. But Muscular's in police custody now, so we don't have to worry about him. I like today. I said quietly. Izuku smiled and the group split off, Izuku being escorted home by midnight, wondering what the future would hold. 10th, 1 week later, Izuku, sweetie, is here, and Ko shouted, slapping a heavy envelope down in the middle of Izuku. Achako, it's, open it, Achako said excitedly. I'm sure you did great. Izuku nodded as he tore open the envelope. Yeah, he was still pretty sure Nedzu had rigged the thing in his favor. Izuku pulled out a small metal disc, which promptly lit up, displaying a large hologram. Hello, am I a dog, a bear, a mouse? Who cares? I'm currently a hologram. Holo, Nedzu squeaked. Izuku Midoriya, usually we would go over the results of your recommendation exam, but you probably already figured out that you were getting in regardless. Still, I will say that you placed second on the written test, and your heroic actions during the practical were nothing to sneeze at either. You will be in Class 1 with Aizawa. The necessary documents should be in that envelope, and Aizawa should be by soon to talk to you about something equally important. Wow, cryptic, but still cutting to the chase, Achako said. Indeed, you're Raka-san. That is how I roll. Achako blinked, staring at the hologram in confusion. Isn't this a pre-recorded message? Correct again, you're Raka-san. This message is indeed pre-recorded. Anyway, Aizawa should be just outside your doorstep, so I will leave you. See you soon. This is your Hero Academia. And with that, the hologram flickered off, and a knock sounded on the front door. 10th student dorms, Inko said. Yes, for the safety of your children, the rat has decided to make UA into a mandatory boarding school. Aizawa sighed, and you want Eri to move in as well. Unfortunately, with a powerful and dangerous villain targeting her, it's probably the safest option. We'll still keep up hero patrols around the Midoriya household, but pretty much everyone agrees that Eri and Problem Child will be safest on UA grounds. I see. Inko sighed, looking down at the paper Aizawa had given her. I don't like it. But U8 is probably one of the safest places in the country, so if putting my children in these dorms means they'll be safe, then I'll sign. Wow, student dorms, Achako said near the back of the room. This means Mom and Daddy won't have to spend money finding me an apartment. I mean, assuming I get into UA, that is. You'll be fine, Izuku said, looking at his girlfriends with a smile. Both of you will. You still have a few days before you take your entrance exam, so I'll help you two get ready. Chako pumped her fist. It's our time to shine now. Chapter 29. The UA entrance exams : You know, I didn't get a good look when Sakachi brought us here for the questioning, but holy crap, this school is huge, Achako said, looking up at the massive building. I think Yuzmaru and Yusen have already left for the business course exams. We should move. Bakugo snarled. I'm not fat. Am I fat? You're soft and cuddly like a pillow, Ai said quietly. I think it makes you look cute. Achako pressed her hands to her face in embarrassment, Ai grabbing her leg to keep her from floating away as she accidentally activated her quirk. The blue-haired girl quietly pulled her girlfriend into the building, hoping they didn't attract too much attention. 10th AI walked into the exam room, then promptly did a double take, looking from the ectoplasm that had been leading Achako to her written exam to the one currently standing in front of the desk. My quirk allows me to create clones of myself. Ectoplasm answered as if expecting the unspoken question. Do not worry. I get that reaction a lot. AI's face turned red as she made her way to an empty seat next to a girl with silver, gravity-defying hair. 10th Achako sat in an empty seat near some energetic-looking pink girl that kinda reminded her of Yumara-san. She saw Tsuchan, Ada, and Shinso in other spots around the room, and the Bakugo prick near the front. There was also some sort kid with purple balls on his head. The way he leered at her as she passed, she took a deep breath to calm her. She would be okay. Izuku helped her and Ai study for their exams. She was sure she had the written portion down at least. As the ectoplasm clone finished handing out papers, he stood at the front of the room and told them to start. With determination to rival an Undertale protagonist, she got to work. 10th was 3 hours later when the students finally left the classroom, feeling stiff as they made their way to the auditorium. They were assigned seating by school, so she was glad she didn't have to sit next to Bakugo or that creepy purple ball kid. She had seen him stealing glances at the female examinees, so she already had a low opinion of him. What's up, little listeners? Exclamation. Achako did not jump when President Mike's loud voice suddenly blasted through the auditorium. To be fair, some other kids were startled too. Welcome to UA's Hero Course Entrance exam. Can I get a yes? Yeah. A few kids jumped at Achako's loud cry, shooting glares at her. That's what I'm talking about. I like your energy, examinee 4436. You get a bonus 5 points for this exam. The other kids gaped as Mike continued his loud talk. Let's get right to IT then. If you listeners want to get into UA's prestigious hero course, you gotta fight robots! Exclamation. The screen behind him lit up, showcasing 3 different silhouettes. Each foe villain has been assigned a point value based on how difficult they are to take down! Exclamation. There's 1-pointers, 2-pointers, and 3-pointers. The goal of this here exam is to rack up as many points as possible by taking out these guys. You don't necessarily have to destroy them, just as long as they are rendered unable to fight, you'll get the points. The top 36 scorers will go on to become hero students. May I ask a question? In addition, you with the purple balls on your okay. Calm down 7111. No need to start a fight. President Mike spoke up. He quietly spoke into a radio so that only people with hearing-based quirks were able to hear him. Hey, Nedzu, do me a favor and keep an eye on Mino Reminder. He cleared his throat, then spoke to the crowd again. Though Shinso. Hey, Achako called, wandering over to him. Are you okay? You look frustrated. It had to be robots. Because of course it did. The insomniac sighed. Achako blinked before she realized what he was talking about. Oh, your quirk doesn't work on robots, does it? Well, that isn't an automatic fail, you know. We both built up a bit of muscle cleaning Takoba, and I don't think they made the robots too durable. So what, you want me to punch them? What? No, you'll break your hand. I plan on grabbing some scrap or something from a robot and using it as a weapon. That way I won't have to rely on my quirk as much. And start to exclamation. Mike suddenly shouted, the gates to the Faux City opening. The examinees gaped at him. What are you all waiting for? There are no countdowns in real life. Go, go! The crowd stumbled forward, rushing into the city. 10th, or you lost, young lady? One of the ectoplasm clones asked. Ailey stiffened from her seat on the school steps. First, I'm just waiting for my friends, she said shakily. They're taking the exams for other courses, so I got done before them. Out of the 4 UA courses, general education was the only one that didn't have a practical portion for its entrance exam, so AI was stuck waiting here, not wanting to wander Mustafu on her own since she was so unfamiliar with the area. Ectoplasm nodded. Very well, let me know if you need anything. Tenso, what do you think of this year's batch of examinees? Nedru asked gleefully. Most of them seem over-reliant on their quirks. Lad King spoke up. Only a few here seem to actually know what they're doing. Take Achako Uraka, for example. She's racking up points with a makeshift weapon rather than relying solely on her quirk. Hitoshi Shinso seems to be following her lead, but at the rate he's going, I doubt he'll get enough points to pass. I haven't even seen him use his quirk at all. Ah, yes. Ned's pulled out a file. Unfortunately, young Shinso's quirk is completely useless against robots, so expect to hear Aizawa complaining about how biased the entrance exam is later. Speaking of, do you have anything to say, Aizawa? The man huffed from his dark corner. Bakugo hasn't gotten a single rescue point. All eyes turned to Katsuki. Bakugo's score showing that while he was racking up villain points like nobody's business, he indeed had not earned a single rescue point. Ah yes, that will be a problem. Neju sighed. Well, nothing we can do about it at the moment. For now, let's just enjoy the examinee's mortal terror, yes. Nedza cackled as he slammed his paw on a bright red button. Ten thought Shako froze as the ground began to shake. An earthquake. Turning her shoulders slumped as she took in the cause. You have got to be kidding me, she muttered as a skyscraper-sized robot had risen from the ground. Now she understood what Izuku meant when he told her to stay away from the zero-pointer. She turned and bolted, trying to follow the other examinees as they fled. She only got so far before a chunk of concrete struck her in the head, knocking her to the ground. Some more rubble fell, and she gritted her teeth in pain as her ankle was practically crushed. She looked up, eyes widening as the zero. She was gonna die. Her silent question was answered when the debris was ripped off of her. Hang on! Shinso's voice reached her ears, still ringing from the blow to the head as the insomniac stumbled across the road, having to contend with the weight of a whole person. A loud crunch reached Shinso's ears as a massive chunk of building barreled down at them. Shinso winced, braking for impact. A small noise reached his ears, and no impact came. A loud buzzer rang through the city. All right, that's the end of the practical exam. Please stand by and wait for recovery girl before you hey exclamation. Bakugo, I just said the exam's over. Quit destroying robots or you're disqualified exclamation. Shinso turned, seeing the piece of rubble that had been about to crush them floating harmlessly in the air. Achako's hand dropped to the side, swollen and red, very clearly broken from using her quirk on a giant shame hand ash last time too. Achako slurred before losing consciousness. Thank you for doing this. Izuku sighed, looking through the glass into the interrogation room where the Hatos and Yuyuhea sat. No problem, Sakachi responded. But we still don't know how they are going to react to this. We just have to hope for the best. Izuku mumbled before the two of them made their way into the room. Chapter 30. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Sakachi spoke as he and Izuku entered the room. Nejair's parents were sitting with each other, holding hands tightly. What is this about, detective? Nejair's father asked. You say, is Mr. and Mrs. Hato. Izuku winced his danger sense briefly. It's all right, young man. You have nothing, Mr. Nighthawk. The thing is, though, after the raid, I discovered. Silence answered him, though she's manifested. Are you fucking kidding me? Izuku winced as all eyes in the room turned to Yu, who was glaring at Izuku with a hatred to rival Bakugo's. First you went and got Hei-chan, please. Now, we don't blame this young man for what happened, and I thought you might be happy that Nejair is. Are you serious right now? You can't tell. My quirk allows me to tell if it's a caught. I can verify. Yes, sure. Fine. I can't. It hasn't man. Izuku defended. Yu grit her teeth before turning and storming out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Sadness, confusion, please come back. Please, you'll have to forgive Hei-chan. Nejair's father spoke up. She was very fond of our daughter. Can Nejair hear us? Nejair's mother asked. Izuku nodded. She hasn't gained the ability to speak yet, but I can kind of understand her emotions, and she can see and hear everything I can. I see. Nejair, sweetie. Mama, I want you to know we both love you so very much, and we're both so proud of you. The woman said with a small smile, I know this must be frightening. I can't even begin to try and understand how quirks work, but I can tell this young man cares about you, so try to help him out to the best of your ability, okay? And don't be afraid to come to us if you need anything, young man. Nejair's father sighed. We'll try to talk to Hei-chan about this whole thing. Just, please take care of our daughter. I will, I promise. Mama, Papa, love you. Tenth Chaco groaned, squeezing her eyes tight. The bright lights hurt. Be careful, dearie. Recovery girl's voice reached her ears. You had a nasty concussion. I'm going to give Majima a good beating later. I told him he needed to update the safety protocols on those blasted zero-pointers. You and that insomniac aren't the first to almost get killed by those things. Achako slowly opened her eyes, taking in the room. She saw Ai sleeping in a chair next to her. Poor dear was worried about you. I had to get Midnight in here to put her to sleep. She was panicking so much. She should wake up soon, and then you two can go home. Oh, some of your other friends were here earlier to check up on you. How long was I out? Achako yawned. A couple of hours. I implore you to go straight home when you're released, young lady. My quirk speeds up to the body's healing process, but that requires energy. You're much too tired to do. It was a few tenths, all for one. Yes, what is it, Tamura? Kurogiri. Ever since the doctor wiped his saved data, he's been unbearable. I'm at your service, Tamura Shigaraki. Kurogiri spoke almost robotically. All for one just sighed. Doesn't matter, Tamura. Kurogiri is an amo. He doesn't. Yeah, but. And consider it a punishment for going after Izuku Midoriya without my permission a few weeks ago. I just thought that. I have plans in place for a reason, Tamura. Now, because of this little upset, the Midoriya family is a constant guard around them, and I have received reports that Nezu is turning you into a boarding school, which means I have to restructure the plans again. I honestly don't think I've been this annoyed since Capcom canceled Mega Man Legends 3. Tamura blinked in confusion. What the hell is Capcom? Exactly. All for one waved dismissive. Now, run. As Tamura left the room, Dr. the Elder, our spies have seen neither head nor tail of the Aoyama family. It's highly likely they've fled the country entirely, my lord. All for one huffed. After the announcement of All Might's apprentice spooked the damn family, they disappeared off the radar. The spies he sent to detain them came only to an empty house, and ransacking the place led to no clues of their whereabouts. He would be impressed if he wasn't so frustrated. No matter. He would have Midoriya's quirk soon enough, and with the ability to restore his youth at will, he would have no need for a successor anymore. 10th Tamura was frustrated. Ever since that Yakuza raid, Sensei had been so damn obsessed with that rewind brat, becoming more dismissive of Tamura. Comfort. Oh yeah, and then there was this strange voice in his head that popped up during his fight with Midoriya. Tamura suspected it had something to do with the quirk Sensei gave him, but Tamura chose not to say anything. It was really fucking annoying. Hurt as I don't give a 10th. 1 week later. Of all the things Izuku expected when he opened the door that morning, It was not Mandalay, Pixie Bob, and Coda. Hey, kiddo, Pixie Bob greeted. So you're the one who helped out Mandalay and Coda. Yeah. What are you guys doing here? Izuku asked in surprise. Oh, we were planning on visiting anyway, but then Nezu asked us to bring these letters here too. For Uraraka and Haji. He said they would be here. Mandalay explained. Achako and Ai, still not used to Nezu antics, choked on their drinks. But besides that, I wanted to. That's great. Izuku smiled, letting them in. The second Koda walked into the Kodokan. Wait. Who are you? How do you know my odd? Koda was abruptly yanked upstairs by the unicorn child. Mandalay handed the letters to Achako and Ai. Achako opened hers, looking confused as she pulled out a metal disc, which promptly lit up. I am here as a projection, All Might shouted. Greetings, young Uraraka, Haji, and Midoriya. Nezu said you three would watch this together, so I think this is the perfect time to announce that I have successfully earned my teaching license and will be teaching heroics at UA starting in the new school year. Now, onto the exam, because I apparently have a lot of these to do. Young Uraraka, you managed to do quite well on the written exam, making your way into the top 10, more than enough to make it into Gen Ed if need be. Very impressive considering the amount of students taking the exam. Now, the practical. You managed to score a decent 49 villain points, more than enough to enter UA's prestigious hero course. However, that wasn't the only criteria you were being graded on. What kind of hero school would UA be if they didn't take the actions of their examinees into account? Rescue points, a hidden point value for determining the heroic aspirations of potential students. During the exam, you managed to accumulate an extra 24 rescue points. But that's not all. The disc cut to a video showing Achako and Shinso's encounter with the zero-pointer. Why did you not tell me about this? Izuku asked in concern. I plead the fifth. We're in Japan. Your last-minute save of yourself and young Shinso at the cost of injuring yourself earned you an additional 30 rescue points, bringing your total score up to a whopping 103-point total, earning you first place into the practical exam. The hologram displayed a scoreboard of the 36 who passed the exam, and Achako was relieved to see Tsuyu, Ada, and Shinso's names on the board as well, even if Shinso managed to scrape 20th place. She also took satisfaction in seeing that Bakugo had placed third, right behind herself and Juzo Honuki. Congratulations, young Uraraka. This is your Hero Academia. The video cut off, and after a few moments of silence, Izuku and Achako turned to Ai, who was holding her own letter. Ai? Izuku asked. I got in. The blue-haired girl said quietly. Izuku and Achako cheered, hugging their girlfriend. Mom's definitely gonna want to celebrate when she gets back, Izuku stated. She'll probably invite your parents, Achako, and Futakuchi-sensei too. I can't wait. Achako smiled. Meanwhile, What? How did I fail? A short boy with purple balls on his head wailed from his bedroom.
Good news, guys. I'm not kind of Mineta in this area. Thank God. Okay, if he is, he's gonna be past one day. Yay. Yes.
And these are my drawings of Nai-chan. I like to draw him cause he's my hero. Did you know he saved my life? See, there was this Yakuza guy, and Koda was certainly not blushing as the admittedly cute girl excitedly showed off her things. Thank you very much. He never did find out how she knew his name, though. Katsuki, get the door. I'm busy. The explosive boy grumbled, getting up and stalking towards the door. Who the fuck was knocking at his door when he was waiting to be accepted into UA anyway? He threw open the door. Hello, am I dog, a bear, a mouse? Who cares? I'm the principal of UA. And I'd like to discuss some things concerning your enrollment at UA in person if you don't mind. Something told Bakugo the rat didn't really care whether he minded or not.
Maybe that's all for now. We'll have you more later. Here, I mean, is it favorite? Share something new.